I, who only wanted to play football, became the Hollywood heartthrob. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 450 Big News. The opponent in the League Cup semi-finals. Last year's Premier League champions and Champions League champions Chelsea. In the 15th minute, Exeter City made a small mistake in the midfield pass. This mistake is nothing at all in normal times, but when facing Southampton with Guran, any small mistake will be fatal. Guran rushed quickly, using his body to take on two Exeter City midfielders. After stealing the ball, he started violently on the spot, went straight to the top of the arc of Exeter City, and then kicked a long shot directly. World wave. Exeter City's goalkeeper had no time to react, and could only watch the football break into the goal. The score on the big screen at St Mary's Stadium was immediately rewritten as Southampton 2:0 Exeter City. Exeter City is in trouble now. The game continued, and Exeter City strengthened its defense, especially the defense against Southampton's midfielder Guran. But this kind of defense is not very meaningful. In the 24th minute, Guran intercepted the ball in the backcourt and made a precise diagonal long pass to Chamberlain, who was rushing quickly on the left side. Chamberlain rushed to the left side of the penalty area and rubbed the ball to the front of the goal. Gully's header was miraculously saved by Exeter City's goalkeeper, but Lallana, who followed closely, grabbed the first landing point, raised his foot, and rubbed the ball into the goal. St Mary's Stadium was boiling. Less than half an hour into the first half, Southampton broke through Exeter City with a crazy momentum. Southampton fans were fascinated. Every game with Guran is a festival for them. The game continues, and the slaughter continues. In the 31st minute, Guran intercepted the ball in the backcourt again and sent a straight pass. After Lallana got the ball, he broke into Exeter City's penalty area without stopping. Under the double team of two defenders, he confidently kicked a low shot. Exeter City's goalkeeper fell to the ground to save the ball, but it was too late. The ball went in again. Lallana scored twice. After such a long time since his injury, Lallana's competitive state has finally returned completely, and it is better than before. The score on the big screen at St Mary's Stadium was rewritten as Southampton 4:0 Exeter City. The players of Exeter City are about to collapse. You know, they are definitely not a weak team in the English League One. They can even play with the second-ranked Seagull Brighton in the English League One. But when they met Southampton at home, they were just like meeting a strong team in the Premier League. Exeter City no longer expected to take away 3 points at St Mary's Stadium, nor did they expect to take away 1 point. They just hoped not to be kicked into double digits and be embarrassed. So, Exeter City began to defend with all their strength. The game immediately became dull. Before the end of the first half, Guran sent out 7 or 8 fatal attacks, but unfortunately they were either called offside or the striker did not seize the opportunity. At the end of the first half, the score between the two sides was temporarily fixed at 4:0. The second half was a dull one. Coach Adkins began to deploy his troops. Chamberlain, Schneiderlin and Lambert were replaced one after another, while Guran and Lallana remained on the field. This was also to allow Guran, who had not played football properly for several games, to adapt to the game more and prepare for the heavyweight game next month. In the 77th minute, Guran dribbled the ball back and forth at the top of the arc of Exeter City to look for opportunities. The 4 defenders of Exeter City double-teamed him and eventually tripped him to the ground. The referee resolutely took out a yellow card and awarded Southampton a free kick in a good position. Amid the cheers of the Southampton fans, Guran took the penalty kick with a crescent-shaped scimitar and a fatal elevator and hit it with a shocking hit. The score on the big screen of St Mary's Stadium was immediately rewritten as Southampton 5:0 Exeter City. After this goal, Guran took off his shirt, revealing the strong muscles of his upper body. Southampton's female fans screamed wildly and fainted in a row. The referee also showed Guran a yellow card as usual. Guran accumulated 5 yellow cards. According to the regulations, he will be suspended for the next game. This is to take the initiative, to shuffle the cards in advance. In this way, Duran can ensure that he will not be suspended for accumulating yellow cards before important games. In the 83rd minute, Duran's long pass was destroyed by the defender of Exeter City and went out of bounds. Duran took the penalty kick. Young defender Aaron Martin rushed to the front of the goal, met the throw-in thrown by Duran, and headed the ball directly. The ball went in. Southampton 6:0 Exeter City. Even if Exeter City tried their best to defend, they could not escape the fate of being pressed to the ground by Duran. In the end, the referee blew the whistle to end the game. Southampton 6:0 Exeter City, at their own doorstep, took all 3 points, and continued to dominate the top of the English League One with a winning streak. After this match, all of Duran's matches in 2010 have ended. Although the club still has a home match against Plymouth on December 28th, Duran will be suspended from the last match of the year because of his early reshuffle. After Duran finished his physiotherapy, his personal assistant Rick came to inform him of the draw results for the English Championship, FA Cup and League Cup, as well as the schedule for January. Although the winter transfer window will open in January, the team will not take a holiday, and all matches will continue to advance steadily until all the matches are completed in May, which will be the end of the entire season. There are a total of 9 matches in January, almost one every 3 days, and the intensity of the matches is very high. Relatively speaking, December is now like a vacation. The first match will be at 3 p.m. on Saturday, January 1st, the 24th round of the English League One. Southampton will challenge Rochdale away. The second match will be at 7:45 p.m. on Tuesday, January 3rd, the 25th round of the English League One. Southampton will challenge Notts County away. The third match, at 3 p.m. on Saturday, January 8th, in the third round of the FA Cup, Southampton will host Rotherham, the first place team in the English League Two. The fourth match, at 7:45 p.m. on Wednesday, January 12th, in the first leg of the League Cup semi-finals, Southampton will challenge Chelsea, the champion of the last Premier League and the Champions League. The fifth match, at 3 p.m. on Saturday, January 15th, in the 26th round of the English League One, Southampton will host Colchester United. The sixth match, at 7:45 p.m. on Tuesday, January 18th, in the first leg of the English Championship Southern Division final, Southampton will host Colchester United. The seventh match, at 3 p.m. on Saturday, January 22nd, in the 27th round of the English League One, Southampton will challenge Brentford away. The eighth match, at 7:45 p.m. on Tuesday, January 25th, in the second leg of the League Cup semi-finals, Southampton will host Chelsea. The ninth match, Saturday, January 29th at 3 p.m., the fourth round of the FA Cup. If they win the third round, the opponent is yet to be determined. Seeing such a dense schedule, even Duran couldn't help but take a long breath. English football is really not something that ordinary players can stand on. Even in the lower leagues, the intensity is terrifying. The opponent in the League Cup semi-finals will be Chelsea, and both rounds of the semi-finals will be played in January. The only thing to be thankful for is that the points in the English League One are now very stable, so we can focus our main energy on the 2 games in the League Cup semi-finals. Compared with Premier League teams, the League Cup is not too valuable, and Chelsea has to compete for the Premier League and Champions League titles, so it is impossible for them to focus their main energy on the League Cup. For a League One team like Southampton, if they have reached the semi-finals, they must do their best to win. Even if the FA Cup is gone, and the league loses several games in a row, they have to bet all their energy on the League Cup. It is very worthwhile. It's not just because Southampton's best record in history is winning the League Cup runner-up, but more importantly, if Southampton can really go all the way to the end and win the League Cup with Duran, then next season Southampton can directly participate in the Europa League. And if the Europa League can win the championship, then it can directly participate in the Champions League next season as a seeded team. Therefore, the League Cup may not be of much value to Premier League teams, but for teams in lower leagues, it is simply a great opportunity to turn things around. If they win the bet, the focus of the 9 games in January must be on the League Cup with Chelsea. After returning home, Duran continued to practice. Although he didn't have to play in the next game, because of the early shuffle, Guran still seized all the time he could train. On December 28th, Southampton's game against Plymouth began. Coach Adkins boldly rotated the substitutes and let the main players take turns to rest as much as possible to prepare for the game with Chelsea. In the first half, the two sides played back and forth. Plymouth scored the first goal, but was soon equalized by Southampton. In the second half, the two sides changed sides and Plymouth scored 2 goals in a row. Southampton's substitute Linoop was obviously unable to hold on. Coach Adkins had no choice but to replace Chamberlain and Lallana, the two main players who were on rest, and adjusted the tactics on the spot. Southampton immediately had a good improvement. Before the end of the game, Lallana and Chamberlain each scored a goal to tie the score. In the end, the two sides tied 3-3 and each got 1 point. Southampton's 21-game winning streak came to an end. However, Southampton's points ranking in the English League One is already far ahead, leading the second-placed Brighton team by at least 25 points, which is almost unshakable. Southampton fans are full of confidence that they can win the English League One Championship and be promoted to the second-tier league, the English Championship. The 2010 games were all over, and the club selected the best player of the year and gave him a reward of £200,000. Guran beat Captain Davis to become Southampton's Player of the Year. On January 1st, the 2011 transfer window opened. Chapter 451, Butcher's Hook. The Iron-Blooded Blues. Peak Chelsea. January 1st, Southampton received multiple offers from top clubs. Manchester City and Chelsea announced that they could offer the lowest possible release fee and contacted Guran's agent Menz directly. Manchester United, Liverpool and Arsenal also offered their sincere offers. Tottenham also made inquiries about Guran. Not only the Premier League giants, but also Real Madrid and Barcelona in La Liga began to pay attention to Guran's performance. Bayern in the Bundesliga and AC Milan in Serie A all made offers to Guran. The reason why Real Madrid made the offer was because of Ronaldo's recommendation. Ronaldo is the undisputed #1 star of Real Madrid at this stage. Ronaldo's words are naturally very important to Real Madrid. After watching Guran's highlights, Real Madrid's current coach Mourinho immediately decided to introduce Guran at any cost. The reason for Barcelona's offer, in addition to Guran's beast-level performance as a defensive midfielder, is more because Barcelona does not want Real Madrid to get a strong player like Guran. As a deadly rival at the club level, Barcelona has to mix up whatever Real Madrid wants, whether it wants it or not. Bayern in the Bundesliga wants Guran purely because they are really optimistic about Guran and the strong commercial potential of Chinese players in the Bundesliga. AC Milan wants Guran mainly because of Beckham's strong recommendation. For a time, Guran became a super rookie that European giants were chasing after. But Guran didn't care about it at all. Guran's heart was very firm, that is, to at least send Southampton to the Premier League before transferring away. After all, if it goes on like this, Southampton will soon become his own club, and sending his own club to the Premier League is also his own business. Of course, with Southampton's strength, it is impossible to gain a foothold in the Champions League, so after playing the Europa League, if you want to play in the Champions League, you really have to go to a real giant club. Before that, Guran can also take the opportunity to improve himself, lay a solid foundation, and grow into a world-class star who can truly compete with Messi and Ronaldo. At Guran's instruction, agent Menz declined all offers. At 3 p.m. on Saturday, January 1st, the 24th round of the English League One began, and Southampton challenged Rochdale away. Guran, who was suspended in the last game due to accumulating 5 yellow cards, started this game and wore the captain's armband again. Knowing that Guran would not transfer away, the overall momentum of the Southampton team was very high. At the beginning of the first half, Southampton launched a continuous attack, and Rochdale's defense line repeatedly fell into despair. In the 14th minute of the first half, left forward Holmes broke through the bottom and passed back. Guran's violent aesthetic back row inserted, jumped up outside the top of the penalty area, and headed the ball cleanly and high-track bombing. Rochdale's goalkeeper was stunned and stood still. The ball went in. On the first day of 2011, Duran scored the first goal for Southampton, and Southampton took the lead by 1 goal. Then, in the 21st minute, Duran dribbled the ball through the middle, and after dribbling 6 players, he shot directly from the edge of the penalty area. The score was rewritten again. Rochdale 0-2 Southampton. In the 37th minute, Southampton got a corner kick opportunity after continuous attacks. Duran kicked the ball to the near point of the goal with a crescent-shaped scimitar. Forward Gully jumped high and headed the ball into the goal. Rochdale 0-3 Southampton. Rochdale, playing at home, was clearly well prepared, but they just couldn't limit Duran's ability. Before the end of the first half, Duran dribbled through the middle again, and then shot directly from outside the penalty area. Rochdale's goalkeeper was helpless again. Rochdale 0-4 Southampton. Duran is worthy of being called the king outside the penalty area. Duran's shooting range is within the 30-meter range in the front field, and his success rate is extremely high. The score between the two sides in the first half was temporarily fixed at 0-4. In the second half, the two sides changed sides and Duran continued to show his strength. Rochdale switched to full-strength defense, and the scene was a little anxious for a while. But Southampton relied on Duran's one-stop blast, and scored 3 goals in the second half. When the referee blew the whistle to end the game was fixed at Rochdale 0-7 Southampton. Rochdale, which was originally ranked 10th in the English League One, was ruthlessly pressed to the ground and robbed repeatedly by Duran. After the game, almost all the players of Rochdale were kicked and cried. Then, 3 days later, at 7:45 p.m. on Tuesday, January 3rd, the 25th round of the English League One, Southampton's away game against Notts County began. In this game, Coach Adkins sent half of the main players again, and let Duran play for 70 minutes. This is mainly to maintain Duran's competitive state, and also to maintain the physical fitness of Southampton's main players in preparation for the upcoming League Cup semi-final first round against Chelsea. In the game against Notts County, Southampton played very laxly. Although half of the players were on the field, they basically gave up the high-pressure strategy and physical confrontation to ensure that the main players would not be injured. In the end, Duran easily completed a hat-trick. However, after Duran was substituted, Notts County recovered 2 goals through counter-attacks and defeated the half-main Southampton team with a total score of 4-3. Notts County is temporarily ranked 19th in the English League One. It seems very bad to lose to a weak team like Notts County, but for Southampton's overall points situation, this is the best choice. Southampton is still far ahead of the upper English League One teams. On Saturday, January 8th, the third round of the FA Cup, Southampton played against Rotherham, the top team in the English League Two. The two teams were very different in strength, and this was Southampton's home ground, so there was no suspense in this knockout match. Coach Adkins sent out almost all the main players, in order to keep them in good competitive form. Of course, Coach Adkins also required all players to play with ease, continue to give up high pressure and physical confrontation, try not to commit fouls, and don't get injured. Just maintain a normal offensive mentality. Rotherham could actually play against Southampton. After all, Southampton really wouldn't press the whole court, but Rotherham was afraid. Southampton had beaten all the top teams in English League One, and even made it to the semi-finals of the English League Cup, being on par with Chelsea, Manchester United, and Tottenham. They also beat the middle and lower teams in English League One 5:0, 6:0, and 7:0 at any time. Therefore, it was obvious to Rotherham that we, Southampton, would not defend against them, but Rotherham didn't believe it. What's more, the schedule of English League Two teams was also very tight, and Rotherham didn't want to waste energy on the FA Cup knockout rounds, where it was impossible to break through. So at the beginning of the first half, Southampton's defense was very loose, but Rotherham didn't even attack, just played like a dead end. So, Southampton relied on the set pieces created by Duran to easily win 2 games in a row. In the second half, Rotherham was still playing badly. Southampton attacked like a tide and scored 3 goals in a row before the 70th minute, making the total score 5:0. After 70 minutes, Coach Adkins replaced 3 main players, Duran, Lallana and Chamberlain, to rest. In the end, Southampton eliminated Rotherham, the first place in English League 2, 5-0 without any suspense. Next, the entire Southampton team had a day off. Coach Adkins required the main players to sleep for 12 hours during the holiday, maintain normal food intake, and not go to bars, parties, drinking, flying leaves, love, or even playing games. Any behavior that may cause injury is not allowed. Because, 3 days later, it will be the first round of the League Cup quarter-finals. On January 10th, the players who had a day off returned to Staplewood training ground. Coach Adkins led the players to start high-intensity confrontation training and tactical explanations. On January 11th, the players conducted recovery training, and more specific marking and strangulation tactics. On January 12th, Southampton's main players gathered early and took the Southampton team bus to Stamford Bridge in West London. There are many teams in London, but according to the region, they can be roughly divided into West End teams and North and South End teams. The West End of London is a typical wealthy area, while the North and South End are industrial areas. This also determines the different styles of teams in the same city. Chelsea, Fulham, the Championship team Queen's Park Rangers, which has won a League Cup, and Brentford, which is temporarily ranked in the League One, are all teams in the West End of London. The two giants in North London are Arsenal, a typical working class Arsenal, and Tottenham, which is mainly middle class. In addition, West Ham United is also a team dominated by the working class in the north. British football clubs all have their own exclusive class culture. Although it sounds very classical, class culture is closely related to football culture. There is no doubt that Chelsea in 2010 was definitely the peak of the Blues era. Chelsea Football Club was founded in March 1905, and it cannot be considered an earlier club. Moreover, unlike all other clubs first had a team, and then a football stadium, while Chelsea had a football stadium for more than a year before the Chelsea football team. Chelsea's founder Mills built a team, because he couldn't sell the stadium. In fact, Mills didn't want to build a team at that time, because it was too troublesome to create a team, and the teams of that era relied entirely on ticket revenue. If they didn't have good results, it would be easy to be in debt due to poor experience. As a businessman, Mills didn't want to take the risk of building a team at all. He just wanted the Fulham team that already existed in the local area to play football in his stadium. However, Fulham eventually chose Craven Cottage as their home stadium. Mills, who couldn't sell the stadium, even decided to tear down the stadium and rebuild a residential community. But in the end, Mills changed his decision. And all this started with a dog. The origin of Manchester United is related to a dog, and the origin of Chelsea is also related to a dog. Chapter 452, The Red Rose Overlord. The Blue Lions and Stamford Bridge. It was a morning in October 1904. Mills had already decided to demolish the Stamford Stadium and rebuild it, but his partner Frederick Parker came to him and persuaded him not to give up, but Mills had made up his mind. Frederick Parker kept persuading him. The two walked from Stamford Bridge to the other side, and then walked back from the other side of Stamford Bridge. Frederick kept chattering about his plan to form a team. Mills responded to Frederick with silence, but Mills' dog was very unhappy that his owner was entangled and could not play with it, so Mills' dog suddenly jumped up and bit Frederick. Frederick grimaced in pain, and his arms and thighs were bleeding, but Frederick didn't care at all. He praised the dog for being so powerful, and then continued to talk about his ideas for building a team. Mills was directly confused. It was not because of how awesome this team building plan was, but because Frederick was really too iron-blooded. He could talk endlessly while being bitten by a dog. So, Mills said to Frederick, "If the team you build is as iron-blooded as you, then my Stamford Bridge Stadium will be the permanent home of this team." After hearing this, Frederick immediately picked up the big dog excitedly and kissed the dog hard. This time, the dog was also confused. In short, this is the story of how a dog established the Chelsea Club. The reason for the name Chelsea is not that Stamford Bridge is called Chelsea, but that the old Duke who owned Stamford Bridge is the Chelsea family. West London has always been a place where the powerful live, among which the Chelsea family is the most powerful. Therefore, Mills came up with the stadium. Frederick was responsible for the specific team building plan, and the old Duke of Chelsea came up with the family name, and even authorized Chelsea to use the family emblem. Chelsea's early team emblem was a blue-bottomed golden lion and 2 Lancashire red roses. The red roses naturally symbolized the Lancastrian aristocratic group, among which the Chelsea family was the key lord, and the blue-bottomed golden lion was the emblem of the Chelsea family. In Britain, especially in the Middle Ages, the lion was a symbol of the royal family, just like in the feudal dynasty period in China. The dragon could not be used casually. In Britain, a family with a lion as a family emblem must be a royal family, and it must be a very powerful royal family. From the root, Southampton Club is a retainer of the White Rose, and in modern times it is a team representing the poor working class, while Chelsea is the great lord of the Red Rose. Therefore, today's game can be regarded as an asymmetric battle of red and white roses, and it is obvious that Chelsea's strength is absolutely overwhelming. There is a question: is Chelsea a giant? The club has a bloodline traceability, but the giants don't talk about bloodline. To become a recognized giant in a football capital like England, in addition to having a unique style and culture of the club, there must also be a record to support the club's dynasty era. For example, the recognized giant Manchester United. Although Manchester United's performance has been ups and downs several times, Manchester United not only has the Ferguson era, but also the Matt Busby era, and the earlier Ernest Magnol era. Another example is Liverpool. Liverpool also had its ups and downs, but Liverpool had the very famous Shankly era. Shankly's awesomeness had broken through the shackles of thought. During Shankly's coaching period, Liverpool had a true red soul. In that era, when Western capitalism believed that red was a scourge and various ugliness, Shankly firmly let the Liverpool club learn the spirit of the Red Army, and created one miracle after another that shocked the world. There is also Arsenal. Arsenal is the only team in all English teams that has not been relegated from the top league until now. Just for this reason, Arsenal is a top giant, not to mention that Arsenal's Arsenal Foundation has never changed from the beginning to the end. Before the Wenger era, Arsenal also had the Herbert Chapman era around 1930. Arsenal called Chapman Emperor Chapman, and Chapman definitely deserved this title. Chapman seemed to be a time traveler. His concept of football was more than 100 years ahead of the world. The 334 formation he tailored for Arsenal in 1930 was the famous WM3 defender formation, which has begun to be used in the current football world. Unfortunately, Chapman died suddenly in 1934, but his coaching philosophy was still intact. Therefore, for a long time before World War II, Arsenal was the dominant force in the top league at that time, and Arsenal's 344 formation was also a style of play that frightened countless clubs. According to the real standard of evaluating giants, the 3 clubs that can become English giants are Manchester United, Liverpool and Arsenal. As for Manchester City, strictly speaking, Manchester City is not a real English giant. Although Manchester City was established very early and has had brilliant records and even sent Manchester United to the 2nd division, no matter how Manchester United rises and falls, Manchester United is the Red Devils who never admit defeat, and no matter how good Manchester City's performance is, it lacks a spiritual foundation. For example, Tottenham Hotspur is definitely a strong team in the Premier League. Tottenham Hotspur has won 5 top league titles and 6 top cup titles, but Tottenham Hotspur also lacks spiritual foundation. Chelsea is different from the old giants like Manchester United, but it is closer to giants than Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester City, because Chelsea still has spiritual foundation, that is, iron and blood. This spirit was planted when the team was established, and it became the team spirit of Chelsea for a long period of time, but it was lost for a long time. It was not until Abramovich bought Chelsea that the Blues gradually regained the feeling of iron and blood, and did not go to win in intercontinental competitions. But strictly speaking, Chelsea can only be regarded as a new upstart, not an old giant. Of course, in a non-strict sense, at least 10 clubs in the Premier League can be considered as giant clubs. If you compare English clubs with Chinese clubs, English clubs are almost all century-old giants, while China does not even have a club that is over a century old. This is an objective condition. Football clubs are never calculated by days, but by annual rings. Chinese clubs are still young and in a state of disorderly growth. Manchester United and Liverpool, which are recognized as undisputed giants, have been relegated from the top league, and Chelsea has been relegated from the top league twice. Chinese clubs still have a long way to go in terms of growth. As long as they find their own spiritual heritage, carry it forward, and form a generational connection with the club's fans, it is only a matter of time before the Chinese have their own century-old giants. Having said that, the reason why Chelsea is called a new giant is not just because Abramovich is rich. In the early days, Chelsea was indeed based on iron and blood. In the early days of Chelsea, there was a goalkeeper named Villiers Henry Falk, nicknamed Falk the Fat. This guy was 191 centimeters tall and weighed 141 kilograms, which is 282 pounds. The most amazing record of this guy was that he broke the goalpost during the game and forced the game to end. Of course, the goalposts of that era were made of wood, but being able to break the goalpost is still a very terrifying existence. When Falk stood in front of the goal, the striker on the opposite side was scared to death. In the contemporary Chelsea, although there will no longer be a 282-pound goalkeeper, the iron-blooded Terry is Chelsea's business card. Although Terry slept with his teammate Bridges' girlfriend Vanessa, and made Vanessa pregnant with little Terry, and eventually had an abortion, Terry was a scumbag, but his strength was indeed super strong, and his defensive awareness was also super iron-blooded. Even if he was bleeding, and half his life was gone, he was still full of fighting spirit, and would never leave the front line easily. There is a sequel to the Chelsea club's Friends Wife Gate, which was written by Courtois and De Bruyne. Of course, this kind of shitty thing is not only Chelsea, but also Manchester United, a giant club, is even more awesome. Giggs slept with his own brother's wife for 8 years, creating the eye-catching brother-in-law gate in the football world. Later, this practice was learned by a certain player who argues who. In short, no matter what, after a period of decline, Chelsea met their true love, Abramovich, when the club was insolvent. It is no exaggeration to say that, although Chelsea has a strong foundation, there are many British clubs with strong foundations. Chelsea's record cannot support the title of a new rich club. It was Abramovich's takeover and the complete privatization of Chelsea that made Chelsea truly have the confidence of a new rich club. Abramovich is the world's richest boss who really likes football. Unlike Manchester City's big boss Mansa rarely appears at the Etihad Stadium to watch games, while Abramovich often goes to Stamford Bridge to watch games. From the perspective of the boss alone, Abramovich is definitely the boss that every club dreams of. He gives money almost unlimitedly and never asks why or if it works, never looks at performance or revenue, and has no control over everything, but everything is under control. And Abramovich is also extremely humane. In 2018, the father of Chelsea star Mikel Obi was kidnapped and demanded a high ransom. Mikel, who was playing for the Nigerian national team, collapsed at the time. After Abramovich knew about it, he called and said, "Mikel, do you need me to intervene in this matter? As long as you speak, no matter what the other party asks for, I can help you bring your father back safely." Sure enough, in less than 24 hours, the kidnappers released Mikel's father obediently. In a later program interview, Mikel couldn't stop crying after talking about this incident. Mikel said that, no matter how those in power view Abramovich, the real Chelsea people will always regard Abramovich as the head of the family. Later, Chelsea, which lost Abramovich, was like losing its pillar. Chapter 453, 1 in 10,000. A game with almost no hope of winning. Before 11 AM, the Southampton team's bus slowly drove into the Stamford Bridge football stadium. Stamford Bridge is one of the earliest professional football stadiums in England. Before the owner of the stadium, Mills, bought the stadium for the first time, the stadium was only used as a polo club for the nobles. Later, the nobles fell into poverty and had no money to play polo, so Mills bought it and used it as a football field. Stamford Stadium was originally oval, but after renovation and expansion, the stadium gradually became square. Stamford Stadium can now accommodate 42,420 people. All facilities are first class in Europe. In addition to the live broadcast room, press center, buffet restaurant, executive box, and jersey purchase mall, you can also hot stamp on the spot and print your name on the purchased jersey. What is different from most other stadiums is that the exclusive stand for the Blues D-head fans is not on the south stand, but on the north stand, the Matthew Harding stand. Although the Matthew Harding stand is not as famous as Liverpool's Kop stand, it is definitely a holy place in the hearts of Chelsea fans. Matthew Harding was the former CEO of Chelsea. He died in a plane crash in 1966. In order to commemorate Matthew Harding's contribution to Chelsea, the club named the Tape A stand where the most crazy home fans watch the game the Matthew Harding stand. In 2006, after the Blues defended the Premier League title, the then head coach Mourinho threw his championship medal to the Matthew Harding stand to thank Chelsea's D-head fans for their support, which ignited the whole stadium and made the Matthew Harding stand the most famous stand of the year. Speaking of Mourinho, Mourinho is definitely the most unique coach in the world. There is no other. The other three stands at Stamford Bridge are the East Stand, which can accommodate more than 10,000 people, the West Main Stand, and the South Shed Stand. The East Stand is a 3-story stand that also includes the players' passage, the two teams' locker rooms, the players' restaurant, the interview center, etc. Corresponding to the East Stand is the West Stand, which is also the main stand of the stadium. This stand has more than 13,000 seats and also has Chelsea's top executive box group, commonly known as the Millennium Box. These boxes are named after the famous players in the history of Chelsea Club. The last South Stand is the short side stand, named Sheet Stand, which can only accommodate 6,831 fans and is specially prepared for visiting fans. After arriving at Stamford Stadium, Southampton had a buffet in the player restaurant at noon, and then took a simple rest for a while, and then warmed up on the green field of Stamford Bridge. This game is definitely a very crucial game for Southampton. However, according to the competition system, even if Southampton loses this game, they still have a chance. The League Cup semi-finals are played in 2 rounds, with each team playing 1 home game and 1 away game. The elimination result is determined by adding up the goals scored in the 2 games. If the number of goals is the same, the away goals will be compared. If the away goals are also the same, then overtime will be played. If the overtime is tied, then it will be a penalty shootout. Today, the pre-match odds given by William Hill Gaming Company are 1.92 for Chelsea to win with 2 goals, 3.34 for 2 goals to draw, and 7.20 for 2 goals to lose. There is not even a handicap that does not let the ball go. This shows that the gambling company is almost 100% optimistic that Chelsea can beat Southampton at home. As the champion of the last Premier League, Chelsea's recent momentum is also very strong. Although Southampton can eliminate Everton and upset Manchester City, there is only a 1 in 10,000 possibility of defeating the Premier League champion Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, about 0. As the head coach of Southampton, Adkins also faced a new and powerful team like Chelsea for the first time. Coach Adkins also kept relieving the pressure on the players and himself. Although the players of Southampton were nervous, they did not have a particularly big psychological pressure burden in their hearts. After all, with the strength of the English League One team, it was already very remarkable that Southampton could play to this level. Even if they really lost to Chelsea, the Saints fans would never blame the players. After 2 hours of training, the players of Southampton returned to the locker room to rest and adjust. At 5:30 p.m., fans from both sides began to enter the stadium. In less than 20 minutes, the Tape A stand of the Blues was full of Chelsea fans wearing blue jerseys, while the Sheet stand on the south side was full of more than 6,800 Southampton fans who came from afar. Before the game started, and the players appeared on the field, fans from both sides sang team songs to each other across the air. Although Southampton and Chelsea are not mortal enemies, or even old enemies, a long time ago, when Southampton was still a Premier League team, every time they played against Chelsea, there would be some small conflicts between the players and fans of both sides. This is probably related to the red and white roses. After all, London and Southampton have been enemies for centuries. Now, although Southampton has become a Premier League team, and Chelsea has jumped from the middle and lower reaches of the Premier League to the top of the Premier League under the strong intervention of Abramovich, the Southampton people still don't tolerate the bad habits of the West Londoners, especially the Chelsea club has been poaching their star player Guran openly. This undisguised poaching behavior is also regarded as an arrogant provocation by the Southampton Saints diehards. Therefore, for this asymmetric game, the Saints fans are not afraid at all. Even if they lose, the Saints fans will never be afraid of the Blues fans. 5:50 p.m. The coaches of both sides attended the pre-match press conference at the press center of Stamford Bridge. This pre-match press conference attracted reporters from major British media, and even reporters from other European countries. Another match that was held at the same time as this one was between Manchester United and Tottenham. Judging from the number of stars on both sides, the match between Manchester United and Tottenham should have attracted more attention, but judging from the number of media present, this side was obviously the most watched by the world. Who doesn't want to see the performance of the superstar Guran who can lead the English League One team to the League Cup quarter-finals? Who doesn't want to know which giant this God's darling who is pursued by many giants will choose as his real starting point? Any news about Guran will attract huge traffic. This is why the news media are flocking to it. Before the press conference officially started, Coach Adkins took the initiative to shake hands with Chelsea's current head coach Carlo Ancelotti. Chapter 454. Pigs can't be coached. Pragmatism and system. Two major schools in football. Ancelotti is a world-class coach. Coach Adkins, a small coach in the English Premier League, is naturally polite in front of Ancelotti. And Ancelotti also hugged Coach Adkins very cordially in front of many media, without any airs of a big-name coach. Ancelotti was once the main midfielder of AC Milan during his playing days, but he was not a top player. His reputation during his playing days was obviously not as good as Roberto Mancini, who is also an Italian coach. However, as a coach, Ancelotti is an existence that his fellow countryman Mancini can never surpass. There are many world-famous coaches, from Cruyff, Guardiola, Mourinho, Lippi, Van Gaal, Ferguson, Wenger, and even Zidane, all of whom can be regarded as first-class coaches. But putting aside personal likes and dislikes and other reasons, Ancelotti definitely has a place among the world's famous coaches, and he is still a top coach at the T0 level. Ancelotti's coaching ability and formation change ability are very strong. Milan's classic Christmas tree formation is his masterpiece. Pirlo was brought to life by him. Kaká was also trained to be the world's top player in his hands. Mourinho's 433 defensive counter-attack formation also evolved from Ancelotti's formation. Ancelotti is also the first head coach in football history to dominate the world's 5 major leagues and win championships in all 5 major leagues. Of course, Ancelotti was scolded by fans in the early days. When he coached Juventus in 1999, the old ladies diehards also put up a banner that said Juventus does not need a pig to coach. For a long time, Ancelotti was called Ansu, the second in the millennium, the good guy, and various nicknames that did not meet the broadcast standards. Ancelotti in the early days of his coaching career was indeed unable to satisfy the club's fans. Before the Calciopoli scandal, Serie A was known as the Little World Cup. Ancelotti was able to coach Juventus and AC Milan, 2 world giants, one after another. He was indeed very capable. Moreover, Juventus and AC Milan were sworn enemies. It stands to reason that being the head coach of these 2 sworn enemies would at least win the love of fans from one side. However, Ancelotti was hated by fans from both sides. Juventus hated Ancelotti for twice being the second in Serie A, hated him for losing the championship in the heavy rain in Perugia, and insulted him by saying pigs cannot coach. Milan fans sneered at him for only being able to leg Berlusconi's XX. In order to make Berlusconi happy, he created the fancy Christmas tree formation, abandoned Milan's traditional style of play, and beat Deportivo La Coruna 4-1 in the first round of the Champions League. As a result, he was eliminated by Deportivo La Coruna 4-0 in the away game. And then there was the night in Istanbul. The head coach of AC Milan, which was strongly reversed by Liverpool, was Ancelotti. Not only AC Milan, no matter how good a team is, it will almost be reversed at a critical moment when it falls into his hands. However, it is undeniable that Ancelotti is really resilient and fits Chelsea very well. Frederick, the founder of Chelsea Club, smiled even when he was bitten by a dog and bled in order to create the club, and Ancelotti was scolded as a pighead by his own fans, but he still smiled. Ancelotti is the kind of coach who will never collapse and can fight again and again after repeated defeats. Ancelotti's style is Italian conservative, emphasizing the order and rigor of defense, and he also advocates practicality. He usually likes to use a set of lineups to death. Of course, he will set up luxurious formations and use high-priced stars to please a club owner. But in his bones, he is definitely a model of conservatism and practicality. In fact, in some ways, Ancelotti is very similar to Mourinho. It's not about their personalities are completely opposite. Ancelotti is a pleasing type, while Mourinho is a fuck it type. Their similarities lie in their tactical thinking. On the tactical level, Ancelotti is a conservative and pragmatic head coach, and although Mourinho is a student of Van Gaal, he is also a conservative and pragmatic head coach. The difference is that when he has enough ability to attack, Mourinho is more like Van Gaal on the offensive level, very decisive and fierce, while Ancelotti will never go all out, even when he has enough ability to attack. This is also the reason why after Mourinho left Chelsea for the first time, although there were 2 more head coaches, Chelsea immediately became like a fish in water as soon as Ancelotti took over. Mourinho style 433 was originally a modified formation from Ancelotti's formation, and when Ancelotti took over Chelsea, Mourinho style 433 was further improved with Italian style. Under the relay efforts of the two, this Chelsea has been trained to beat Real Madrid and Barcelona, and then they were the same in Real Madrid. Mourinho went to Real Madrid first, and when Mourinho left Real Madrid, Ancelotti took over Real Madrid. The tactical styles of the 2 head coaches were not seamless, but at least they were very compatible, and did not cause clubs like Chelsea and Real Madrid to have the same chaos as when Ten Hag took over Manchester United. Compared with Ancelotti and Mourinho seems to be more popular. However, Mourinho himself admitted that Ancelotti is the real head coach role model. From a tactical perspective, the styles of Ancelotti and Mourinho are completely different from those of Cruyff and Guardiola. These 4 coaches can basically represent the 2 major coaching styles in today's football. One is pragmatic, and the other is system. Cruyff and Guardiola's deployment of troops is not actually brilliant. Their formation does not play a decisive role, and the stars do not play a decisive role. What really plays a decisive role is that they must use the system-based disciples they have trained themselves in the system they set. Why are most of Barcelona's main players graduated from La Masia Academy? It's not because Barcelona prefers La Masia, nor is it that La Masia is strong enough to rule the world, but La Masia itself is specifically operated to cultivate talents for the Barcelona system. This is just like a factory producing parts. Parts from other factories can also be used in the Barcelona system, but the parts that really fit the Barcelona system are definitely the parts produced by the La Masia factory. For example, the system type team including Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, Puyol, Pique, Busquets, and Pedro is actually an assembly line factory, but it cannot be denied that the products produced by the assembly line factory are often of better quality than hand-rubbed ones, very beautiful, very durable, and can produce stars in batches. Since the success of Cruyff's passing and controlling flow, more and more clubs on the European continent have begun to learn this factory assembly line method. So in a very short period of time, the European continent has basically been dominated by passing and controlling flow. Chapter 455 Ancelotti can still stand up and toast. The reason why the passing and controlling flow is so beautiful is that it is built on the premise that every link cannot fall off the chain, and this kind of every link cannot fall off the chain is the system of the factory assembly line. Therefore, the passing and controlling flow has very high requirements for players. Players in the passing and controlling flow system must not only have superb passing and stopping skills, but also always maintain a triangle position with their teammates, and cannot be sloppy in the slightest. So, From this perspective, Guardiola is not actually a tactical master, and his victory is not won by changing the formation on the spot, but by choosing the star player who best suits a certain position, and requiring the star player to run according to his requirements every step. Rather than saying that Guardiola is a team coach, it is more appropriate to say that Guardiola is more like a band conductor. The system is almost dead at the tactical level, with only 1 or 2 sets of templates. It mainly depends on how Guardiola makes various departments work together to complete this gorgeous movement. From this point of view alone, Guardiola is really doing well and has surpassed his master Cruyff. However, a successful band conductor must be cool and handsome in his movements, but what is really important is that he must have good performers. If his orchestra is full of second-rate people, then no matter how good he is, he can't play music that satisfies the audience. This is the disadvantage of the system. The system type requires people to adapt to the inherent tactics, while the pragmatic type adjusts the tactics to adapt to people. Why is Van Gaal called the fan chef? Because Van Gaal can use ingredients that are not top-notch to cook top-notch delicacies. This is unimaginable for the system passing and controlling flow. If Guardiola's passing and controlling flow does not have top players in charge, or if this top player does not listen to his command and runs around on his own, then Guardiola's system will easily collapse. To put it bluntly, if the system passing and controlling flow is really that awesome, Barcelona should have swept everything long ago with Messi, Suarez, Hab, and Whiteskin. But in fact, at the peak of the Dream 3, they only tied with Real Madrid. The system type has higher requirements. It looks very exciting, gorgeous and pleasing to the eye, but in fact, the upper limit is also locked. In particular, the passing and controlling flow is most afraid of the opponent playing the rib position of the counter-attack. Once the player in this position is injured, Guardiola will really be bald. The system passing and controlling flow not only has extremely high requirements for players, but also for coaches. System coaches must first come from the system, so that they can understand that the essence of the system type of play is not the formation, but the best players suitable for this position. Secondly, system coaches must not be obsessed with tactics, but must focus on the details of passing and running positions, and strengthen the team's drills. Barcelona's legendary star Xavi returned to Barcelona to coach. Why did he fail to achieve Guardiola's success? When Guardiola was a player, as a midfielder, he was not very good at dribbling, and could not run fast, almost equivalent to a waste player, but Guardiola was able to achieve the height of the world's first head coach as a coach. This is because Guardiola really knows how to cultivate and train the system. The world's number 1 midfielder Xavi returned to coach Barcelona, spending more money on buying players than Guardiola did at the beginning, but Barcelona is still miserable. Why is this? It's very simple. Xavi thought he understood the passing and controlling flow, and he thought he could play the passing and controlling flow well, but in fact he didn't understand the system at all. Xavi mistakenly thought that his success as a player was because the passing and controlling flow was the strongest tactic. In fact, it was not. The passing and controlling flow has never been a brilliant tactic. It just raised the requirements for players a lot, and required players to strictly implement the assembly line passing rhythm. Tiki-taka is like a rhythmic clock. The internal structure of the clock is very complicated. Once a detail goes wrong, it is easy for the whole thing to collapse. Therefore, if China wants to determine the team style, at this stage, it must not choose the passing and controlling flow popular in continental Europe. If you really want to play the passing and controlling style, you have to spend at least 10 years to train young players who play the passing and controlling style, learn from Spanish five-a-side football, and engrave passing and controlling into the DNA of young players, so that they can train passing and controlling skills as the only skills of football. Secondly, you have to find a head coach who really understands the system of playing, and give the head coach a lot of time and patience, and don't care about the failure of the national team's transformation in the early stage. In this way, after 10 or 20 years, China may play tiki-taka style football, but perhaps after 10 or 20 years, the tiki-taka system will no longer be popular in the world. What domestic football should really learn is the traditional style of Brazil and Germany. Brazil has delicate technology and strong physical confrontation, while Germany's traditional style is rigorous and its defense is very resilient. Of course, the current German style has been led astray by Spain's passing and controlling style, and has given up its own characteristics, and as a result, it can't even beat Benzi. Although Benzi shouldn't be praised, the path Benzi football has taken in the past 10 years is correct. China has regressed 15 years, and Benzi has made 15 years of progress. 15 years ago, the Chinese national football team could still play according to the rules. 15 years later, the Chinese national football team can no longer see the taillights of the rules, and can't even eat the tail gas. Speaking of tactics, the style that China really needs to learn now should be the pragmatic style of Ancelotti and Mourinho. Simply put, the passing and controlling system is too complicated. For clubs with a national foundation or a special football school as a blood supply, the passing and controlling system can certainly be used, but for teams that start late and have a poor foundation, don't consider learning from the top academic bullies. Just start with a pragmatic style. If you can play pragmatically well, you can also play a good ranking. Ancelotti, Mourinho, and Ancelotti's disciples at AIN are all coaches who don't care about the system or not. They use the resources at hand to highly integrate the team, read the locker room, read the game, and then respond to each move. Therefore, they do not particularly need special resources to support them. It is better to have resources, but if they do not have them, they may rely on adjusting tactics and stimulating the special energy of the players to achieve victory. If they are facing the same top team, is it harder to play against Ancelotti's Real Madrid or Guardiola's Barcelona? This question is probably difficult to answer, but if Ancelotti and Guardiola are not given the treatment of top resources and are allowed to coach domestic teams, Guardiola will definitely collapse before Ancelotti. And Ancelotti can still stand up and toast. Chapter 456 Ancelotti's Evaluation, Pirlo and Kaká. Goodbye, the magic lamp. At the pre-match press conference, after Ancelotti and Adkins shook hands and greeted each other cordially, the press conference officially entered the question and answer session. First, a Southampton reporter asked Ancelotti, "Mr. Ancelotti, you are much fatter than before. Can you tell me why?" This was a very hostile question, which also caused the media reporters to laugh. Ancelotti was not annoyed at all, but smiled and replied, "Yes, compared to before coming to the UK, I have indeed gained a lot of weight. This may be because the fish and chips in the UK are too good." Such a high answer immediately left the reporters speechless. In fact, the UK is recognized as a food dessert, far worse than the food in Italy, but when Ancelotti said this, every British person present was very happy. Another reporter asked, "Coach Ancelotti, many media were looking forward to your meeting your arch-rival Tottenham in the semi-finals, but you were lucky to draw the English League One team Southampton. Do you have anything to say about this?" Ancelotti shrugged immediately. "Are we lucky at Chelsea? No, I'm afraid I don't think so. I think we have mixed feelings. First of all, we do hope to draw our arch-rival Tottenham in the cup semi-finals, so that we can let the Tottenham people know who is the master of London, and we will destroy them without hesitation, if God bless. I also hope that Tottenham will not be eliminated by Manchester United, so that when we reach the final, we can kill Tottenham with our own hands. Of course, our opponent today is Southampton. I don't think it will be an easy game. I have watched several games in which Guran started recently. Guran is very strong. I think he is a combination of Pirlo and Kaká. I expect today's game will be very difficult. We must find a way to limit Guran in order to win. But even if I'm the head coach of Chelsea's super luxurious lineup, I dare not say that we can definitely limit Guran today." As soon as these words came out, the entire media conference room exclaimed, "Pirlo and Kaká are really the highest evaluation Ancelotti has given to a player. Coach Ancelotti, there are rumors that your Chelsea's sister now is using all means to win over Guran. Is this true? Coach Ancelotti, what kind of restrictions will Chelsea use on Guran? Will you use rough and aggressive methods? Coach Ancelotti, when you play against a League One team like Southampton, do you have to send out all the main players? Coach Ancelotti, has Terry slept with his teammates' wives again? If so, who do you think will be the next one? Coach Ancelotti pressed his palms and said with a smile, "We will use appropriate methods to restrict Guran. Of course, we will not aim to hurt Guran's body. Chelsea's style is unblooded, not rough." In addition, the club's owner, Mr. Roman Abramovich, told me that Guran will be a Chelsea player, so we will not hurt our future teammates. I'm very confident that Guran will transfer to Chelsea because I believe in the ability and strength of boss Roman. Now the winter transfer window is not over yet, but I think that when this game is over, we will be able to convince Guran with the result of the game. Then, Ancelotti answered a few more irrelevant questions, and then the direction of the questions shifted to Coach Adkins. Facing the media's bombardment of questions, Adkins' answers were also very cautious. Coach Adkins denied all rumors about Guran wanting to transfer. Coach Adkins admitted that it would be difficult for Southampton to beat Chelsea, who were playing at home, but the entire Southampton team would defend tenaciously with Guran as a core and strive to lose less away games. The pre-match press conference ended in a relatively friendly atmosphere. At 7 p.m., the referee team entered the field to inspect the venue. After the venue inspection, the away team Southampton took the lead in the pre-match warm-up training. When Guran appeared on the green field of Stanford Stadium, more than 6,800 Saints fans cheered wildly, and some Chelsea Blues diehards also applauded and cheered for Guran. After all, boss Abramovich said that he must sign Guran, so the Blues diehards naturally regarded Guran as half a Chelsea player. In the main stand, Liverpool scout Edwards and Manchester City scout Pratt also jumped up and cheered excitedly like veteran fans. Go. Beat Chelsea. For us, let Emanalo go to hell. In today's game, Emanalo was on the bench and not in the scout area of the main stand, so Edwards and Pratt were also extremely relaxed. Liverpool was eliminated by their mortal enemy Chelsea in the quarterfinals, so Edwards certainly hoped that Guran would severely punish Chelsea. The more ruthless Guran was, the more it could be said from a certain perspective that Guran didn't want to go to Chelsea in his heart. As for Manchester City, it was Guran who led Southampton to eliminate Manchester City, which led to today's game between Southampton and Chelsea. As Manchester City's assistant coach, Pratt certainly hopes that Southampton can beat Chelsea. Only if Southampton beats Chelsea can Manchester City lose with face. Therefore, the two scouts support Guran and the Southampton team without reservation. When the DJ on the scene finished introducing all the Southampton players, the grand entrance music sounded, and the entire Stamford Bridge Stadium was instantly boiling. The Blues Chelsea came on the field to warm up. As soon as Chelsea's blue number 8 player Frank Lampard came on the field, he immediately trotted towards Guran with a smile. When Guran saw his old friend Lampard, he immediately smiled and greeted him. The last time they met was in the High School Student Cup of last year's non-professional competition. At that time, Lampard played a guest head coach in a game, and the two sides did not directly fight. It was also during that competition that Guran left a very deep impression on Lampard, and Lampard spared no effort to recommend Guran to technical director Emanalo. And this meeting will be the first real competition between them. And it is a head-on competition between two no-8s. Hi, Boo. I didn't expect to see you on the field so soon. Lampard came up and held Guran's arm, bumped his shoulders with Guran like an old friend, and then hugged Guran cordially. Chapter 457 Abramovich hugs Hermione. The feud between Southampton and Terry. Guran smiled and said, "Nice to see you again, Mr. Lampard." "Hey Gu, don't be so polite, call me Frank." "Okay, Frank." Lampard grinned and said, "Boo, I sent you a lot of messages, why didn't you reply to me?" Guran scratched his head. "Sorry, I usually don't check my phone. I'm either in training or on the way to training. When I see the messages on my phone, it's full, so I'm too lazy to read every one of them." Lampard laughed. "Okay, so it's because you have too many messages, but it doesn't matter. I don't actually have anything important to do. I just want to invite you to Chelsea to play football with me." Guran smiled and said, "Thank you, Frank, but now is not the time to talk about this topic. Our two teams are about to start a battle." Lampard smiled and said, of course. Let's talk about the transfer topic after these 2 rounds of games are over, but I still can't help but say one more thing. Chelsea is really your destination. Chelsea can realize all your dreams. I can help you. Whether it is the Premier League Championship or the Champions League Championship, I can help you get it, and even help you get the European Golden Boy Award and the Golden Ball Award. Don't say it. Lampard's 2 sentences are really attractive. With a super assistant like Lampard who is guiding the way, coupled with a boss like Abramovich, it is difficult not to dominate Europe. But Guran still grinned. Let's play first. Lampard smiled and nodded. Okay. Oh, by the way, I want to say hello to you in advance. After the game, don't exchange your jersey with others, but with me. After all, a superstar like you will leave Southampton soon. Your jersey in Southampton will definitely be very rare and valuable for collection in the future. Guran smiled and said, it's too early to ask for a jersey at this time, right? But Frank, don't worry, I'm very willing to exchange jerseys with you. Okay, then we've made a deal. Lampard took the initiative to shake hands with Guran again, and then the two separated and returned to their respective venues to concentrate on training. Chelsea's Blues fans were even happier when they saw that their team leader, vice-captain Lampard, had such a good relationship with Guran, as if after this game, vice-captain Lampard could pull Guran into the Blues camp. Today's Stanford Stadium was packed, and it is worth mentioning that Chelsea's big boss Roman Abramovich also came to watch the game in person. At this time, Abu was sitting in the executive box, holding Emma Watson, the actress who played Hermione in Harry Potter, with a happy expression on his face. Originally, Abu liked to sit outside and watch the game, just like a normal fan, but Emma Watson wanted both. So today Abu could only obey his girlfriend and sit in the executive box to watch the game. After half an hour of warm-up training, the players of both sides left the field for final preparations. At 7:35, the players of both sides appeared in the player channel, holding the little ball boy by hand, and lined up to enter the stadium under the leadership of the referee. Ran Live also immediately received the live signal. For today's game, the number of people watching online in the live broadcast room has exceeded 600,000. Guran's attraction is only part of it. There are also many fans who are Chelsea Blues fans. It is conceivable how popular this game is to be able to see their beloved Blues team competing with players from their own country. Domestic sports lottery also opened single bets, and many lottery players bought Chelsea to let 2 goals tie. Whether they can buy the third Seaview Villa depends on Guran's performance today. At this time, the players of both sides lined up to shake hands. After the handshake ceremony, the captains of the 2 teams came to the referee to guess the coin. The captain of the Southampton team is still Davis, while the captain of the Chelsea team is their Ryan-blooded team soul number 26 John Terry, the one who slept with his teammate Bridges' girlfriend. In fact, Terry was also the captain of the England team, and in the England locker room, he is definitely a super boss who has the final say. Terry's personality is that of a natural leader. If you look at him, you will bow your head unconsciously. Even Rio Ferdinand was suppressed by Terry in the national team. It was not until 2010 that Terry was stripped of the title of England captain, after he slept with Bridges' girlfriend Vanessa several times, and made Vanessa pregnant, and had an abortion. If Terry had only slept with his friend's wife once, it could be explained as a mistake that all men make, but he slept with her several times, until she had to have an abortion, which was really too much. Bridge was not only Terry's teammate at Chelsea, but also his teammate in the national team. Bridge worshipped Captain Terry as the boss, and because of this incident, Bridge, a star from Southampton and England's most promising right back, transferred to Manchester City with hatred, and turned from a tough fullback into a glass man who fell down at the slightest touch. The Southampton people remembered this account for Bridge, especially the old players of Southampton, such as Davis and Walton, who were all brothers with Bridge, naturally hated Terry. So, when guessing the coin, Terry took the initiative to shake hands with Davis, but Davis didn't even look at Terry and threw the coin directly. The D-head fans of the Saints also booed Terry, and some even shouted Bridge loudly. Terry had no expression on his face, as if he was deaf. In the end, Southampton got the priority to choose the side, while Chelsea got the priority to kick off. This time, Southampton did not make a reverse choice and take away the north half of Chelsea's D-head fans, but chose the south half where the Saints fans were. After all, this way of grabbing the opponent's habitual half has a psychological effect on evenly matched teams, but it is useless for Chelsea, a team accustomed to big scenes. The captains of both sides shook hands. This is the rule of the game. Davis could only shake hands with Terry perfunctorily, and then quickly exchange team flags. The players of both sides also took photos in their respective half, and then set up their formations. In today's game, the away team Southampton still use their most common 442 formation. Coach Adkins required the mentality of the whole team to defend with all their strength and use physical strength. This is almost the same as the requirements when Southampton played against Everton and Manchester City. After all, when a weak team plays against a strong team, you really can't think so much. Playing defense and counter-attack honestly is the most pragmatic. Barcelona is good at passing and controlling the ball because they have top players trained by their own system. If you are a weak team, you will only become weaker. However, Southampton has changed a bit compared to the previous match with Manchester City. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 458, The defensive midfielder moves forward. Southampton's tactical fine-tuning. Vice-Captain Walton's secret mission. Southampton's two forwards are centre forward Gilly and flexible forward Lallana. Just like when playing against Manchester City, Lallana's position is still slightly behind, between the centre forward and the attacking midfielder. But the difference from the role in Manchester City is that in today's game, Coach Adkins asked Lallana to go behind the centre forward as a shadow forward when attacking, and to retreat to be a central midfielder when defending, and to make room to support Guran's forward insertion at any time. In other words, today Lallana's role in the midfield defense is more important, while the offensive proportion is greatly reduced. The attacking midfielder position was previously played by Lambert when playing against Manchester City, but today, it is played by Guran. This is the biggest change in Southampton's tactics today. Although the positions before the game officially start are still unclear, as long as the game state is entered, Guran will move forward, and Lambert will move backward. Of course, as a front midfielder, Guran's main role today is actually to play in the front midfielder position. In other words, Guran's role in the front midfielder position is more to intercept and steal against the sweep. Not only do you have to do the dirty work, but you also have to find opportunities to get forward and output. And there is also an obvious problem with this tactic. That is, once Guran is targeted by the Wally Ancelotti, Southampton will really be out of touch. Therefore, Coach Adkins' tactics are actually very risky. Coach Adkins must have 100% confidence in Guran's ability, believe that Guran can break through the limitations of Chelsea's world-class midfielders, and believe that Guran can compete with Lampard, Drogba, and the world-class stars on this central axis. Only by placing Guran on the central axis and the back midfielder in front, can we have a chance to limit the passing machine Lampard's ability to pass the ball. If we still play like the Manchester City team, just put Guran in the back midfielder position, then before Guran can go up, Lampard will pass the ball in the midfield and backcourt. Therefore, if you want to beat Chelsea in 2 rounds, you must use trump cards against trump cards, and let Guran go against Lampard. To put it more bluntly, whoever's number 8 performs better, whose team will win. In today's game, Coach Adkins has no choice but to fight and take risks. Fortunately, Guran is very strong and can play in multiple positions, otherwise, this game would not even be worth thinking about. Southampton's left winger is still Chamberlain. Chamberlain seems very excited. He is an absolute big game player. The better he is in big games, the stronger his performance is. In addition to Guran, Chamberlain, Lallana, and goalkeeper Captain Davis have all performed beyond the level of the English League One. Of course, this improvement in collective status is also due to Guran. Schneiderlin is still the right winger. Schneiderlin's recent progress is also obvious to all. His ability to chase back has begun to strengthen, and his defensive and supporting abilities in the midfield have also increased visibly. He is the most suitable candidate for the right side of Southampton's defensive strategy. Southampton's left back is Hammond. Hammond has also been transformed well recently. Although Hammond is not a left-footed player, as a former defensive midfielder, Hammond has rich experience in defensive interception and running, especially in the critical moment. He can go up and form a 3-back pattern with Guran and Lambert to strangle. This is also a new change in the backcourt defense of Coach Adkins. Southampton's right back is Font, and the usual Richardson is temporarily sitting on the bench today. This is also one of Adkins' fine-tuning. In terms of defense, Font and Richardson perform similarly in the right back position, and Richardson also has an offensive type. However, in the game against Chelsea, the full-back wanted to assist, but there was no way. What Southampton needs now is a watertight back line that will never leave space behind the full-backs. Of course, letting Richardson sit on the bench is not because they don't want Richardson to play offensively, but because they have other plans. Font can not only play as a right back, but also as a centre back. Therefore, when needed, Font can switch positions to the centre back. The centre back position is very critical. If a new player is found to replace him, it is easy to misunderstand the rhythm of the game at the beginning and make fatal mistakes. Therefore, Coach Adkins also ambush Font, the centre back, at the right back in advance. When the centre back needs to be replaced, Richardson can be directly replaced, and Font can be played as a centre back. The two starting centre backs of Southampton are JD and Walton. Walton regained the trust of Coach Adkins in the key game, and returned to the starting lineup. In the previous month, Walton's performance in the club's training was remarkable. Although his physical fitness was still not as good as before, as the club's performance got better and better, the vice-captain became more and more honoured and serious. He even arrived early for training several times. When playing against weak teams, Walton could play the whole game and performed well. Such performance can naturally impress Coach Adkins. Although Coach Adkins is sure that Walton's body will definitely not be able to hold up the whole game in the high-intensity confrontation with Chelsea, Walton has a lot of defensive experience. Moreover, Coach Adkins summoned Walton alone before the game, talked to Walton for half an hour, and gave Walton a secret mission. Southampton's goalkeeper is still Davis, who has performed well recently. Davis is also the goalkeeper with the most zero blocking opponents in the current English League One, and this season's English League One Golden Glove has basically been booked. In general, Southampton's lineup today still has some changes, especially the point of the back midfielder in front, which will be the best highlight of today's game. On the Chelsea side, the lineup is much more luxurious. Chelsea used a 433 formation today, with half-court pressing, mixed long and short passes, and a cautious attacking mentality. Ancelotti, as an Italian head coach, is naturally conservative. Chelsea's 433 formation is also a modification of Mourinho's 433 formation, which combines both offense and defense, and strengthens Italy's Catenaccio. During Ancelotti's coaching, the Blues' Chelsea was one of the teams with the lowest goal conceded rate in the top 5 leagues. This is not only because Chelsea's goalkeeper is the strongest goalkeeper in the world, Sech, but also because of the defensive concept brought by Ancelotti. Even when facing a weak team that is not strong, Ancelotti will first defend steadily. Chapter 459 Chelsea's Trident. The Premier League's most expensive player appears. Chelsea's 433 formation is the same as Manchester City's 433 in terms of positioning. There is a centre forward in the middle, a winger on each side, forming a forward triangle, and then 2 midfielders and a defensive midfielder, leaving the 2 ribs empty, forming a reverse small triangle in the midfield, plus 4 full-backs and a goalkeeper. The difference is that Manchester City's 433 is a crazy attack mentality, while Chelsea's 433 is a cautious mentality. Whether it is attacking or defending, Ancelotti requires Chelsea players to be cautious and pay attention to protecting the 2 ribs. The disadvantage of the 433 formation is that it is afraid that the opponent will use counter-attacks to attack behind the fullbacks, so Ancelotti requires the 2 fullbacks not to rashly insert assists. From a tactical point of view, Mancini's 433 is more comprehensive and fiercer, but it is also easier to be penetrated through the ribs and lose the ball. Ancelotti's 433 relies more on the performance of Lampard, the soul of the number 8 team, and focuses on the defense of the whole team. This is actually similar to the tactical thinking of Southampton. Although Southampton's formation is 442 instead of 433, the whole team of Southampton is defending, and Guran is the only one who can organize the offense. Therefore, in theory, this game will not be a big and fierce game, but a duel between a cautious team at the Champions League level and a cautious team at the English Premier League level. Of course, Chelsea has a super luxurious lineup, and even if they are not cautious, there is almost no suspense in this game. Chelsea's centre forward is Fernando Torres, the number 9 holy child, golden boy, T9, Tony. Torres was originally the star player of Liverpool. In January this year, just a week ago, he was dug from Liverpool to Chelsea by No Sister for a transfer fee of £50 million. The transfer fee of £50 million also created the highest transfer record in the Premier League. When interviewed by the news media, Torres said excitedly, "I really don't do it for money. Liverpool can only dream, and Chelsea can make me reborn." Head coach Ancelotti liked the deal very much, so as soon as Torres transferred over, he couldn't wait to arrange for Torres to play. Torres scored a goal for Chelsea in his first game. It was at Stamford Bridge in the rain. Torres faced West Ham United and scored his first goal for Chelsea. This goal made the Blues fans very satisfied, as if the high-spirited golden boy who could be as famous as Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo was back. Today was Torres' second game for Chelsea. Ancelotti directly let Torres start, while the original centre-forward Drogba sat on the bench to watch the game. Torres is 26 years old, 185 centimeters tall, weighs 76 kilograms, a Spanish international, and just won the World Cup for Spain in the 2010 World Cup. In fact, Torres' knee was seriously injured. During his time at Liverpool, his performance had been declining due to the knee injury. He even played with an injury in the 2010 World Cup. Thanks to Spain's smooth passing and controlling style of play, otherwise, it would have been difficult for Torres to win the World Championship. Therefore, in the 2010 World Cup, it was not Torres who led Spain forward, but the Spanish team who carried Torres forward. Of course, even with a knee injury, Torres' strength is still very strong. As a Spanish star, Torres has very good footwork. He likes to dribble the ball past the goalkeeper, likes to pull to the empty space to receive the ball, likes to hit the wall, and likes to shoot with one touch. Torres is very fast. Even after his knee injury, his speed is still first class among Premier League centre forwards. The last time Southampton played a warm-up match with Liverpool, Guran played against Liverpool star Jared and others, but Torres, who was still Liverpool's star at the time, was on vacation, so Guran did not play against Torres. Today is also the first time Guran has played against Torres head-on. As a defensive midfielder, Guran will first face the world-class centre-forward, Torres. This is quite stressful. However, it is better than facing the beast Drogba right at the beginning. The beast Drogba is the one who is really feared. Drogba's physical confrontation and ability to turn and get the ball are definitely the best in the world. Almost all defenders have to take a breath and use all their strength when they see Drogba, and then wait to be knocked away by Drogba. Today Ancelotti put Drogba on the bench, which is also good news for Southampton. Today, Chelsea's starting left winger is number 15 Baboon Florent Malauda. French star Malauda is 30 years old, 177 centimeters tall and weighs 79 kilograms. Apart from anything else, just this height and weight are really baboon-like. In fact, although Malauda is French, he is from French Guiana, which is in South America, and one of the French colonies. The capital of French Guiana, or should it be called the capital, is called Cayenne. So, Malauda is actually a South American player. His skills are not delicate, but his body, speed, awareness, and experience are all world class. Moreover, Malauda is a rare left-footed player. Playing on the left wing is like a fish in water for him. When Malauda was young, he was very fast. Later, as he got older and his life was not too self-disciplined, he was no longer a flying wing at the age of 30, but his sprint is still at the world-class level. He has the physical confrontation of South American players, and his crossing ability is very strong. He is also very good at grasping the goal, and he has the ability to shoot violently from a long distance. Chelsea's starting right winger is AK-39, Mr. Angry, the ruthless man who dares to insult his own head coach during the World Cup. Butterfly killer, Nazi salute, world-class sprayer, wandering mage, World of Warcraft's good brother Nicholas Anelka. Anelka is definitely one of the most unique players in contemporary times. Anelka is 31 years old, 185 centimeters tall and 83 kilograms in weight. He is a typical strong center and winger. Unlike Malauda, Anelka is a star born in France. His footwork, dribbling, speed, sprinting, positioning, crossing, cutting inside, shooting, confrontation, etc. are all first class. The only thing that prevents Anelka from becoming a world-class star is his personality. Anelka has an emotional and impulsive personality and often conflicts with others during the game, regardless of whether the opponent is an enemy player or a teammate, whether the opponent is a referee or his own head coach, and whether the occasion is a training ground, a competition field, or a World Cup stadium. In short, in one sentence, as long as I, Anelka, am unhappy, no one else can be happy. Chapter 460 Novel Template. Insulting the head coach during halftime. Beating teammates and being permanently expelled from the national team. Anelka is called AK-39 and Mr. Angry because he almost never smiles and always looks angry, as if everyone owes him 2 million. When he gets angry, it's like an AK-47 shooting, and everyone around him will suffer. Anelka is a young and successful French striker. He started at Paris Saint-Germain. After becoming famous, he was spotted by Wenger and transferred to Arsenal. Later, he was spotted by Real Madrid and transferred to Real Madrid. When he was in Real Madrid, he dared to fight with Raul, the boss of Real Madrid at the time, and was banned for 45 days by the Real Madrid club. After that, Anelka returned to Paris Saint-Germain. At this time, Anelka was already at the peak of his career. His skills were much better than when he first joined Paris Saint-Germain. Of course, his temper was much worse. He would strike at any time and bully his younger brothers in the locker room at any time. After that, Paris Saint-Germain loaned this talented striker to Liverpool. Anelka continued his magic and madness in Liverpool. Anelka played only 22 times in Liverpool, and most of them were substitutes, but he scored 5 goals, and most of them were key goals. Liverpool really loved and hated Anelka, but in the end they did not buy him out. Anelka was sold to Manchester City by Paris Saint-Germain. Anelka performed a hat-trick in his first game in Manchester City. After 2 years of silence in Manchester City, Anelka transferred to Bolton for £8 million, which also created the transfer fee record of Bolton. In the 07-08 season, Anelka played 22 times in Bolton and scored 11 goals. His goal efficiency was very high. In January 2008, Anelka joined Chelsea for £15 million. Although Anelka was not young at this time, his ability was still at its peak, and his hot temper was also at its peak. Later, in December of 2011, Anelka left Chelsea and followed his Warcraft brother Didier Drogba to join the Shenhua team. Of course, the nickname Warcraft Brothers is not a compliment, but a derogatory one, just like Plastic Flower Sisters. When Anelka first came to Chelsea, Didier Drogba was injured, so Anelka played as a centre forward. When he came to Chelsea, Anelka played very well and scored a lot of goals. Later, when Drogba recovered from his injury, Anelka refused to give up the centre forward position and even planted a flag with Warcraft on the training ground. Of course, the final result was that Drogba regained the centre forward position, and Anelka was injured for a month before returning to the training ground. And that time was exactly when Terry slept with Bridges' girlfriend. What happened in the Chelsea locker room doesn't need to be as interesting as a palace drama. The reason why Anelka and Drogba went to Shenhua to play football together was not because of any brotherly feelings, but purely for money and comfort. In Chelsea, if you want to make money, you have to fight for your life. In Shenhua, they only need to play with half the effort in the training match to get double the price. It's really stupid and rich. In 2013, Anelka transferred to Juventus as a substitute player. After playing for Juventus for less than half a year, Anelka transferred to West Bromwich Albion. However, due to the death of his agent Manasseh, Anelka broke down and announced his retirement. He did not play again until 3 months later. Then, just after scoring a few goals, Anelka made a celebration that shocked the world, the Nazi salute. The top management of the entire West Bromwich Albion club was scared. The next day, Anelka was fired, and he had to pay the penalty. No club in Europe dared to take this star who was already very old, but had an increasingly bad temper. Afterwards, the media interviewed Anelka why he did the Nazi salute celebration. Was it a mistake? He wanted to chop the wind with one hand, but it looked like a Nazi salute. Anelka answered without hesitation, "No, I was saluting the Nazis." The reporter asked again, "Are you a Nazi?" Anelka replied, "I'm not a Nazi, I'm just an anti-Semite. If I were a Nazi, I would have beeped them all." The beeping here was muted by the media, otherwise even the media interviewing Anelka would be implicated. Anelka is really a tiger. In short, Anelka is definitely a legendary superstar in terms of strength, and can even be on par with Henry, Trezeguet, and Zidane. However, Anelka's personality and temper affected his football career, and caused him to wander around. His career planning was a mess. There was no club that really belonged to him, and there was no era that really belonged to him. There are many talented players in football, but there are only 2 of them who can play like Messi and Ronaldo. Anelka's signature celebration gesture is to cross his fingers in front of his chest to make a flying butterfly look. Because of this cute celebration, Anelka is also known as the Butterfly Killer. But Anelka has done more than just the Butterfly Killer celebration and the Nazi salute celebration, and not just competing with Warcraft for the center position. The most amazing thing he has done in his life is to become the template for countless football novels, insulting the national team coach, beating up his national team teammates, and then being expelled from the national team and never recruited again. It was the 2010 World Cup, when France played against Mexico in the group stage. During the halftime break, the French coach Domenech asked Anelka to pass the ball to Gourcuff more often and not to dribble the ball blindly. How could Anelka, who had a bad temper, tolerate the criticism from the astrology master Domenech? He immediately responded with a polite word draft. Domenech was dumbfounded. As a coach who used zodiac signs to select players, and hated Scorpio players, Domenech certainly didn't tell himself a star before he went out. He didn't expect that he would suddenly encounter Anelka's Mercury retrograde. I thought Anelka would just scold him a few times, but Anelka scolded more and more vigorously. During the 15-minute halftime break, Anelka scolded for 12 minutes without repeating himself. The old captain Henry sat on the side with a confused look on his face, and the new captain Evra also sat beside the old captain Henry with a confused look on his face. Neither of them participated in the game. Everyone was not supporting the big troll Anelka. Everyone just wanted to see the joke of the Zodiac coach. But the veteran Ribery couldn't stand it anymore and came out to stop Anelka. As a result, Anelka immediately turned the muzzle of the AK-37 and shot at Ribery. How could Ribery, who has a hot temper, bear this bird's anger? So the two fought in the locker room during the halftime break of the World Cup. Anelka cursed, "I can't beat Drogba, but I can't beat you, Ribery." In the end, Anelka won, but was also expelled from the national team. Chapter 461, Chelsea's True Core. Lampard also has flaws. 2010 World Cup in South Africa, the French team did not even qualify for the group stage. Many people attributed the poor performance of the French team to the locker room conflict caused by Anelka, believing that it was Anelka, a black sheep, who tore the French locker room apart and affected the performance of the French team. In fact, those who really understand know that the culprit is the French team's head coach Raymond Domenech. There are many head coaches with personality in the history of football, such as Cruyff who never put down his cigarette, such as Mourinho, such as Lowe who grabs his crotch when excited, and Domenech is definitely a head coach with personality. Domenech's characteristic is metaphysics. It is said that Zidane is Qi Zhuangzang, but in fact, Zidane's metaphysics is nothing compared to Domenech, the master of the national team. Domenech really believes in astrology. Through astrology, Domenech believes that he will become the president of France. Later, he found that he had learned astrology incorrectly. After further in-depth research, He found that he could become the head coach of the French team. At that time, he was already the head coach of the French team. He used an existing result to prove the correctness of his astrology. This is also what many astrologers and fortune tellers love to do. When someone dies, they say that this person has a bad fate, and when someone becomes rich, they say that this person has a good fate. Is astrology accurate? It is really hard to comment on this, but there are too many stupid people in this world. Astrology involves a very grand view of the universe, the history of astrology, mathematical calculations, etc. It is really not something that anyone can afford to play with. Domenech believes that Scorpio is incompatible with him, an Aquarius, so when Domenech selected the players for the French team in 2010, he ignored the opposition of others and did not take any Scorpio players. As a result, Anelka had an internal conflict in the second round of the group stage. After Anelka was expelled, the French team went on strike and went home directly after the group stage. Afterwards, Domenech used his astrological level, which was not even at the bottom of the bottle, to analyze that he forgot to consider the rising sign. Anelka's rising sign is Scorpio. It must be like this. Oh my, astrology is so accurate. In short, Anelka met Domenech, which was really a strange encounter. Next, Chelsea's two midfielders are Frank Lampard, the number 8 vice-captain, and Ramiro Santos do Nascimento, the number 7 Brazilian genius midfielder. Frank Lampard is the real core of Chelsea. Although Chelsea has a sharp front court trident, in fact, this trident does not launch an attack through the wingers holding the ball, but through Lampard in the midfield to tier B2B, and then make a magic lamp to guide the straight pass, so that the role of the trident can be played. With Lampard, the magic beast Drogba's playing style is very simple, that is, to eat the opponent's defender alive and break into the key area, then take the ball with his back, turn around and shoot. Drogba's back-to-back ball and turn around to shoot have been fed to the world's first class by Lampard. Even Liverpool's Anfield king Kenny Dalglish has to shake his head and admire it. Drogba was just the final blow after completing the complex process, and he was the Terminator, but the real engine of Chelsea was Lampard number 8. Lampard is 32 years old this year and has passed his peak period, but he is still the soul of Chelsea. Lampard is 184 centimeters tall and weighs 84 kilograms. He is a typical British B2B midfielder. He is full of muscles and has almost unlimited physical strength. He is also at Tin Man level. He is extremely not easy to get injured. He is balanced in offense and defense, has strong ability to insert from behind, and has a good long-range shot. As a midfielder, Lampard is the top scorer in Chelsea's history. He helped Chelsea rise and helped Chelsea win the Champions League and 3 Premier League titles. Lampard himself has been shortlisted for the Ballon d'Or 5 times. Although he has not won the Ballon d'Or, his strength is recognized as strong. Lampard has scored more than 20 goals in the top leagues of the 5 major leagues for 5 consecutive seasons, won the Premier League Player of the Year twice, and was selected into the Premier League Team of the Year 5 times. He is a meritorious legend of Chelsea. As long as he is not a coach, Lampard is a good Lampard. Although Lampard has a very high IQ, he is not only unique in the Premier League football world full of idiots, but also has an IQ that is enough to crush the vast majority of elites. However, an IQ of more than 150 does not mean that Lampard can really be a good coach. Lampard's footwork is not delicate, which is a common problem for Premier League players, but Lampard also has the advantages of British players, that is, simple and efficient. He can break through the opponent's defense with one foot, so there is no need for too much dribbling. Lampard has a very broad vision and a passing dispatching ability like AI calculation. His super high IQ gives him a great advantage in predictive analysis. Lampard has strong endurance and can run and sprint non-stop throughout a game. Therefore, he has a wide coverage on the field, and his back row attack is also very sharp, and his long-range shot hit rate is extremely high, and there are often some long-range shots. And in this game, Ancelotti sent Lampard to the field, that is, to form a triangle stranglehold in the midfield, specifically to limit Guran. Using a world-class B2B midfielder like Lampard to restrict Guran, and adding 2 more midfielders to restrict him. From this point alone, we can see how cautious Ancelotti is, and how much he values Guran. As Chelsea's number 8 midfielder brain, Lampard is also full of expectations for being able to compete with Southampton's number 8 Guran. In fact, with Lampard's influence in Chelsea, Lampard can fully serve as the captain on the field. Especially after Terry slept with his younger brother's girlfriend and was deprived of the captain's armband by the England national team, Lampard's call to be the first captain has become even higher. Even Terry took the initiative to give up the armband to Lampard, but Lampard did not accept it. Lampard said that, no matter what Terry did, Terry is still the real soul of Chelsea. Terry was very moved and expressed his invitation to Lampard's family for dinner. Lampard quickly said, "I'm going to marry the female host soon. Please don't do this." In short, despite the incident of friend's wife, Terry is still the captain of Chelsea, and Lampard is the vice captain of Chelsea, the first penalty taker for penalty kicks, corner kicks and free kicks. Of course, Lampard is not flawless. In addition to the pitfalls of being a head coach in the future, Lampard took off his clothes in a bar in London after 9/11 in front of crying Americans. Later, he was fined £100,000 by the club. The reason is that he should not drink in the bar before the game. Chapter 462. African Joey. Underrated world-class midfielder. Cristiano Ronaldo's diving trigger. World's top left back. Another midfielder in Chelsea's starting lineup is Ramires, number 7. Ramires is 23 years old, 178 centimeters tall and 67 kilograms in weight. He is a South American B2B midfielder who can attack and defend. Ramires has a nickname called the Blue Kenyan who can't die. Of course, Ramires is not a Kenyan, but Kenya is almost a crushing existence in long distance running. Ramires is also a representative of the indomitable running on the court, and he is wearing the Chelsea Blues jersey, so he is called the Blue Kenyan. In Chelsea, Lampard is also a representative of the B2B who can't die, but Lampard can't run faster than Ramires. First, Ramires is still young and has the physical toughness of South American players. Second, Lampard needs various organizations to coordinate and dispatch. Lampard's B2B is not only about coverage. Ramires' career is also very legendary. Similar to many international superstars who came from slums, Ramires also put on sneakers and joined a professional club to start formal training at the age of 17. Before becoming a formal player, he worked as a porter and a bricklayer and often did not have enough food to eat. Especially when he was a bricklayer, he followed his uncle to work, often working all day, and only had a meal after working all day. He was born into a poor family. It was a luxury for him to play football when he was young. Because he was too obsessed with playing football and had no money, he often had an empty stomach all day. Because of his excellent running ability, he was spotted by Brazil's top league team at the age of 17. After 2 years of formal training, Ramires, who finally had enough food, began to explode. He was first spotted by Cruzeiro in the Brazilian Serie A, and then by Benfica, a Portuguese Serie A giant, and officially landed in the European arena, helping Benfica break Porto's monopoly on the Portuguese Cup Championship. In August 2010, Ramires moved to Chelsea for a transfer fee of £16.3 million, starting his journey as a Blues star. During his time at Chelsea, he helped Chelsea win many championships. Until 2016, when his appearances at Chelsea decreased due to injuries, Ramires joined the Chinese Super League Suning team for €28 million. Unfortunately, Suning did not have a happy ending with Ramires. Ramires joined Suning for 73 games, scored 17 goals, and had 13 assists. Ramires is a real thigh, but in a club of the level of the Chinese Super League, no one can suppress a big player like Ramires, unless the coach is lippy. But no matter what, Ramires is an inspirational example for South American players. In Brazil, not having enough food and playing barefoot can really change your destiny through football, while in China, parents firmly believe that only studying can change your destiny. In today's game, Ramires stood parallel to Lampard. Lampard was more inclined to offensive organization, while Ramires had only one task, to protect Lampard. Whoever does Lampard, Ramires will do. Although Ramires looks thin and short, as a South American player, Ramires is a B2B engineer. He is not a sweeper or a blaster, but an engineer. Such a player on the field can give all players close to Lampard a headache. Next, the last link of Chelsea's inverted triangle midfield is the number 5 beast waste, the Iron Wall, the African Buffalo, the African Joe Young, Michael Essien. There are many beast wastes in the current football world, such as Yaya Toure, Vidal, Ballack, etc., but the term beast waste was originally exclusive to Essien. Essien showed the world the necessary standards for a defensive midfielder: a strong body, amazing physical fitness, top-level burst, endurance, and extremely aggressive confrontation. Essien is 177 centimeters tall and weighs 85 kilograms, which is 170 kilograms. If converted into gin, 177 centimeters tall and 170 kilograms in weight. If it were an ordinary person, he would be a standard fat man, but Essien is all muscle. If he were hit by a buffalo like Essien, an ordinary person would definitely be injured and unable to get out of bed for 100 days. Essien has strong explosive power and fast speed. Any forward who relies mainly on speed will find it difficult to get rid of Essien, and once he is hit by Essien, he will inevitably lose the ball. Even if a strong forward can withstand Essien's impact, he will definitely not be able to outrun Essien. Other B2B players run all over the field and sprint intermittently, but Essien can sprint all over the field. Essien actually sacrificed his B2B attribute in Chelsea because there are already Lampard and Ramirez in the midfield. Although Lampard and Ramirez are also B2B, they are not the sweeping type. Essien is actually an all-around B2B, capable of blasting, engineering, and sweeping. His sweeping attribute is exactly what Chelsea lacks the most at present, so Essien's position is relatively backward, specializing in interception and sweeping, and he does not have to run all over the field. Every time Chelsea finishes playing, Essien does not sweat much. In addition, Essien also has a very domineering long shot with a full sense of power. Domestic coach Zhang once said something to the effect that Chelsea with Essien is actually 452, and Essien in the midfield is used by 2 people. The only pity is that Essien suffered a serious injury to the cruciate ligament of his knee in 2009. After that, because of this old injury, it recurred repeatedly. If it were not for the injury, Essien would definitely become a world T0 level defensive midfielder. As for his nickname African Joe Young, it was because, when he played for Milan in the late 14 years of his career, he was sent off by the referee with a red card. The popular emoji on the internet, when he widened his eyes and looked at a loss, looked like Joe Young. The fans felt sorry for the big buffalo and gave him the beautiful name of African Joe Young. After that, Essien spent a long time in the lower leagues and did not retire until 2020. Essien has dual nationality of France and Ghana. Given the lack of good wastes all over the world, if Essien joins the French team, he will definitely have a chance to win the World Cup, but Essien resolutely chose Ghana, where he grew up. But in any case, Essien, 28 years old, is at his peak. He fights fiercely, and his defensive awareness is almost invincible. He can take on the entire defensive gate of Chelsea by himself, which should not be underestimated. Next, Chelsea's starting left back is player number 3, Gossip King, world number 1 left back, Premier League number 1 scumbag, see Ronaldo diving trigger Ashley Cole. Yes, Cristiano Ronaldo himself confirmed that he had encountered many difficult fullbacks in his career, but the only one who really gave him a headache and a mental disorder was Ashley Cole. Chapter 463 Gossip King vs. Gossip King. Duran, I'm not a scumbag. Ashley Cole is 30 years old, 176 centimeters tall, 64 kilograms in weight, and a left-footed player. Ashley Cole made his debut in Arsenal's youth training system. When he was young, he was highly valued and loved by Wenger. Because of his extremely fast speed, Ashley Cole played as a striker/left winger at the beginning. But Wenger soon discovered Ashley Cole's ability in one-on-one defense, especially when he found that Ashley Cole's shooting skills were average and slow to grow. Wenger decisively improved Ashley Cole to a left back. This position also fully exerted Ashley Cole's potential, and because of the scarcity of left backs, Cole was able to participate in Arsenal's 49-game unbeaten glorious dynasty at a very young age. Henry, Vieira, and Bergkamp are all big men who grew up with Ashley Cole. Around these big men, Cole quickly improved his skills, and also learned to go to bars, and won the title of the Little Prince of nightclubs. Cole is extremely fast and his defense is extremely solid. Because he started out as a striker, he knows how strikers play very well. He can play as a left back like a striker. At the peak of his career, no striker could dribble past him one-on-one. In this regard, Ashley Cole is a sticky candy, and he is the best in the world. Unfortunately, Ashley Cole's peak period is not too long, and he cannot be compared with the real-world T0 left-backs like Carlos and Maldini. In addition to defending on the left side, Ashley Cole is also very strong in assists, and his front court arrival rate is extremely high. This is also due to his habit of playing as a striker/left winger when he was young. In addition, his physical fitness, speed, and explosive power can also support him to sprint back and forth. His steals, predictions, off-ball movement, physique, speed, burst, and other attributes are all world class. The most direct reason why Ashley Cole did not become a great left back like Carlos and Maldini is that he is not self-disciplined enough. Ashley Cole is known as the first scumbag in the Premier League, and he is the scumbag who really aroused the anger of the people. Other professional players train whenever they have time, but Ashley Cole doesn't. Ashley Cole looks for women whenever he has time. In fact, it is understandable that men, especially those who are good at sports, spend a little before marriage, but it is really unreasonable that Ashley Cole still pays for women when he gets married. You know, Ashley Cole married Cheryl, a popular actress from the British Goddess Girls Aloud girl group. Cheryl is the dream lover of countless British men. As a result, after Ashley Cole married Cheryl, as long as Cheryl was on a business trip for a performance, even if it was only for one day, Ashley Cole would call in advance to make an appointment for door-to-door service. Later, Ashley Cole was finally caught by Cheryl when he was cheating with his female hairdresser. In order to get Cheryl's forgiveness, Ashley Cole had to admit that he had cheated on 5 women, and in order to coax Cheryl, Ashley Cole gritted his teeth and bought Cheryl a big diamond ring worth £170,000. Cheryl was very sad, but she still chose to accept the big diamond ring. In the subsequent interview, Cheryl said that, although she heard that Ashley Cole had cheated with 5 women, it was not entirely her fault. For example, Crouch's girlfriend Abby Clancy, supermodel Brooke Healy, Clary Robinson, etc. were not good women. Of course, Cheryl was too naive. The reason why Ashley Cole confessed 5 women was not because he really only cheated on these 5, but because these 5 impressed him the most. He couldn't remember the names of most of the others, especially those who paid. In short, Ashley Cole coaxed Cheryl. But the good times didn't last long. After a few days, Ashley Cole was itchy again. As a result, this time it was discovered by Cheryl's fans, and the evidence was sent to Cheryl. Cheryl completely collapsed, and finally chose to divorce Ashley Cole. This divorce lawsuit, that shocked the whole of Europe, also caused Ashley Cole's reputation in the football world to plummet, and also indirectly affected Ashley Cole's state. After that, Ashley Cole was in a broken jar state. As long as the game was over, whether he won or lost, Ashley Cole's first thing was to run to the bar and then throw a lot of money at the paying girls in the bar. Ashley Cole's peak period only lasted until 2012. In 2013, he, who once made Ronaldo feel scared, couldn't even play as a main player in Chelsea. In 2014, Ashley Cole moved to Roma, but his state was still sluggish, and he eventually became a substitute in the Roma team. In 2016, Ashley Cole, who was desperate, went to the Los Angeles Galaxy to pan for gold. In 2019, he transferred to the championship team Derby County at a low price of £15,000 a week. After playing a few games, Ashley Cole retired. It can be said that Ashley Cole started from a very high point, and his strength was definitely enough to be at the world's T0 level. He also had his peak period, but because of his unrestrained private life, his peak period ended quickly, and he eventually became a bottom tier player. Players like Ashley Cole are by no means an exception in the football world. But no matter what, Ashley Cole was once glorious. He once faced Ronaldo and Messi head on, and they were basically at a 50-50 level. Now Ashley Cole is actually at the end of his peak period, and his competitive state has declined a lot. If he now faces Ronaldo and Messi head on, He may not be able to catch up with the self-disciplined Ronaldo, nor can he defend against Messi's super fast feints. When Ashley Cole was declining, Ronaldo and Messi were both in a crazy rise. However, even if Ashley Cole's current state has begun to decline, and he can't defend against Ronaldo and Messi within the Premier League, Ashley Cole is still the king of the left side. Guran and Ashley Cole also have similar situations in their playing style. When Guran was playing street football, he was also a forward and left winger, and later changed to a left back. Guran is known as the king of the left side in the English League One, while Ashley Cole is recognized as the king of the left side in the Premier League. Ashley Cole is also the darling of the Sun and the king of gossip. Guran is also the darling of the Sun. His serialized plot with Sister No and Linda is a guarantee of sales for the Sun. Therefore, the match between Guran and Ashley Cole in today's game is also a very interesting highlight. However, Guran has now moved from the left back to the position of defensive midfielder/attack midfielder, and has gradually transitioned from dominating the left side to dominating the entire court. Moreover, although Guran has had many girlfriends, Guran is not a scumbag, at least Guran himself thinks so. Chapter 464, the world's #1 defender again. Ancelotti has lost all his reputation. Next, Chelsea's starting right back is the world's best right back, Big Ivan Corridor. Don't be afraid of Ivan, the Blues' iron-blooded meritorious service, the most beloved player of the Blues, the Blues legend #2, Branislav Ivanovic. World's best again. Yes, world's best again. There is no way Chelsea in this era is so strong. Almost all the best players in the football world are under Abramovich's command. Chelsea's left back Ashley Cole is the world's best left back, right back Branislav Ivanovic is the world's best right back, centre back John Terry is the world's best defender, goalkeeper Petr Cech is the world's best goalkeeper in IFFHS points in 2005, the UEFA best goalkeeper in 2006, the Premier League Golden Glove last season, and the goalkeeper with the most shootouts in Europe. Even Casillas in his prime, he only made beautiful saves, and his data is still not as strong as Cech in this era. How can Abramovich's team not have a luxurious Lidup? In particular, as a Russian boss, Abramovich really prefers top players from Serbia and the Czech Republic. Branislav Ivanovic is a world-class player who is seriously underestimated. This may be because Big Ivan's personality is not so flamboyant, and he rarely appears in media interviews, so his popularity is not as loud as Gary Neville, Zambrotta, Thuram, Alves, and Cafu. But in fact, Ivanovic is not inferior to anyone in the right back position. Especially compared with the left back Ashley Cole, Big Ivan has no scandals, a harmonious family, a happy life, hard work in the game, and is willing to work hard. Big Ivan is 26 years old. He is already the captain of the Serbian national team. He is 189 centimeters tall and weighs 89 kilograms. He is an absolute tank. As a right back, Big Ivan is all around. He covers the aurora during the game, and is more like a free man. Big Ivan can not only play as a right back, but also as a central defender, a defensive midfielder, a wing forward, and even a center forward. Big Ivan was also transformed from a forward to a right back. And Big Ivan is also a typical B2B defender, who can rush from his own penalty area to the opposite penalty area in one breath and complete a cross or shot. There is a word called Messi corridor, which refers to Messi's dribbling the ball in front of the penalty area, as if he is in no man's land, just like returning to the corridor of his own home. There is also a word called Ivan corridor, which refers to the fact that on the right side of the road, Big Ivan can dribble straight into the land, as if he is in no man's land, just like returning to the corridor of his own home. From this nickname alone, you can see how fierce Big Ivan is on the right side. Big Ivan is just compressed on the right side like a spring. His confrontation, his speed, burst, his passing, his cross are all first class, and his shooting is even better than some forwards and centers in the Premier League. In a team full of stars, Ivan, like Essien, is often restricted to the right side by the head coach. So although he is very versatile, he rarely shows his strength in every game. Only at critical moments can fans appreciate his role as a nuclear bomb to determine the outcome. Chelsea already has 3 B2B midfielders, of which Essien has to play in reserve, and Chelsea also has a B2B right back on the right side. This configuration alone is enough to scare any European team. Today, 3 world-class B2B midfielders all started. The left and right side backs are world-class side backs, the 2 centre backs are also world-class and quasi first class, and the goalkeeper is the world's best goalkeeper. From a certain perspective, Chelsea's head coach Ancelotti really didn't care about his old face. When facing Southampton, which is in the English League One, Ancelotti was very cautious and sent almost all the main players. He just put Drogba on the bench, but the one who replaced Drogba was T9 Holy Child Tours, who was more valuable than Drogba. So, Ancelotti really didn't care about his old face. Chelsea's 2 central defenders are the protagonist of the friend's wife abortion scandal, captain number 26 John Terry, and Lu Peng Peng number 4 David Luiz. Captain Terry's defensive strength is recognized as world class. Terry's peak period was before the friend's wife scandal broke out in 2010. That was also the period when Terry's reputation was the highest. Often when reputation is high, it is also easy to be arrogant. Before 2010, Terry's partner in Chelsea's central defender was the world's top iron guard Carvalho. The back line formed by Terry and Carvalho was almost flawless, which was also an important guarantee for Sech to win the honor of the world's first goalkeeper with the lowest loss rate for several consecutive years. It's a pity that Carvalho is gone, and Terry has also stepped down from the altar because of the incident of his friend's wife. As the captain of Chelsea, other things are not a big deal, including fighting in a bar and seriously injuring someone, and letting his younger brother take the blame, including scolding his own fans in the parking lot, including being sent off on the field, etc., which are really not a big deal. However, sleeping with his good brother's girlfriend more than once, and asking his good brother's girlfriend to have an abortion, this is really a big deal. Terry's reputation has also plummeted because of Vanessa's incident. Not to mention that the Blues fans find it difficult to forgive Terry's behavior. Even the younger brothers who follow him every day in the locker room have begun to stay away from Terry, and they don't invite Terry to the wedding wine. Although Terry is still conscientious and dedicated on the field after this incident and continues to carry forward his iron-blooded defense, he can't go back. His younger brother Bridge, who was hurt by him, was not only because his girlfriend, who he was about to marry, was slept with, but also because his faith that he had followed for many years completely collapsed, so that Bridge, who was originally an Iron Man, became a glass man after transferring to Manchester City in tears. Bridge is a Southampton native and also made his debut in the Southampton club, so today all the veterans of Southampton are eager to fight and compete to stand up for their old friend Bridge. Of course, although Terry began to decline because of the friend's wife incident, his peak period was very long, so even if Terry's state declined, he is definitely a presence that can surpass Rio Ferdinand in this era. It is absolutely very difficult for Southampton to get past Terry's gate. After the friend's wife incident, another thing happened, which also made people who like Terry find a little excuse to comfort Terry. John Terry's biological brother, Paul Terry, is also a player, but Paul plays in the amateur league. Paul Terry cheated on his Rushton Diamonds teammate goalkeeper Dale. He slept with Dale's 25-year-old fiancée Lindsay for half a year. It was not until Dale learned about the incident in the newspaper that he became alert and looked through his fiancée's mobile phone that he discovered it. Throughout 2010, almost all the news was about the Terry brothers sleeping with their teammates' wives. So, the Terry family has the gene of sleeping with other people's wives. If you think about it this way, Terry can't be blamed entirely for Vanessa's incident. It's in his genes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 465. This is Iron Blood. This is the most perfect Chelsea era. The last central defender in Chelsea's starting lineup today is number 4, Brazilian David Luiz Luponpon. David Luiz is only 23 years old this year. He is a rising supernova in the defense line. He is 189 centimeters tall and weighs 85 kilograms. He has a hairstyle similar to Fellaini's when he was young. Of course, his hair is not an imitation of Fellaini. In fact, he came to Portugal from Brazil when he was in the youth team. The winter in the European continent is much colder than that in Brazil, so David Luiz has a hairstyle because it can keep warm. David Luiz transferred to Chelsea in January this year for £30 million. His age and price alone are enough to prove his strength. David Luiz is a central defender with balanced left and right feet, and he is also very fast and explosive. In addition, he is tall and strong, and has excellent defense and defense capabilities. He can play both central defender and left defender. Moreover, David Luiz is also very good at reading the game, and can launch attacks from the defensive area, but because of his overconfidence, other defensive players often have no time to react and create loopholes, so he is also the most unreliable among the top defenders, and often puts the team into a passive position, because of his sudden brain hole. This is also the reason why he is obviously very good at footwork, but he can never reach the level of the world's first defender. If you have to pick a weakness in Chelsea's defense, then the young David Luiz is the weakness, but in fact, this weakness worth £30 million is enough to fight against any level of striker in the Premier League. Chelsea's starting goalkeeper is tank soldier Sech. The common characteristics of Chelsea players in this era are iron-blooded. Lampard is an iron-blooded midfielder, Essien is an iron-blooded beast-waist, Ivanovic is an iron-blooded fullback, Terry is an iron-blooded captain, and Sech is an iron-blooded goalkeeper. What is iron-blooded? It means being injured and bleeding, simply bandaging or even not bandaging, and continuing to work hard on the field. Take the most famous iron-blooded figure Terry for example. Terry has performed many feats of sacrificing his life to block the opponent's shot. In the last match of the 2010 South Africa World Cup group stage, it was more than 2 months after Terry was exposed for his friend's wife scandal, and the negative impact was still the highest. In the game, Terry was able to continue to carry forward his iron-blooded defensive spirit. At that time, Terry had fallen to the ground, and the Slovenian striker was raising his foot to prepare for a shot. Terry actually threw his body out like a sandbag and stabbed his head hard into the ground to block the opponent's shot. This really shocked everyone, because if he was not careful, the opponent's striker might kick Terry in the head. This kind of heavy kick at the level of shooting would really kill or cripple the vital parts, but Terry didn't care. Fortunately, this kick did not hit Terry, and the football did not hit Terry's head, but Terry fell heavily to the ground because of the completely reckless impact, and his eyes always followed the trajectory of the football. Such a defense, how can people not be in awe and excited? This is called passion, really the passion of risking one's life. Terry's iron-bloodedness is not only on the field, but also off the field. When Mourinho coached Chelsea for the second time, Terry was still the captain. Once Terry was injured in a game. According to the advice of the team doctor, Terry should rest for 2 games. After the game, Mourinho walked into the locker room and greeted every player, even the substitutes, but ignored Terry. So Terry muttered in his heart, "Why didn't Jose talk to me? Did I do something wrong? Is it because I have to rest for 2 games? No, I can't rest. Isn't it just a little bleeding? I'm not dead. I want to continue to play." Immediately, Terry took the initiative to find Mourinho and explained his request to continue to play. Mourinho accepted it very happily. This is the iron-blooded captain and the crazy head coach. Chelsea during the Abramovich era took the word iron and blood to the extreme. Chelsea during the Abramovich era was the real Chelsea, and Chelsea during the Abramovich era was the Blues with real soul. Goalkeeper Sech is also an iron-blooded person who never leaves the front line even when injured. Sech's nickname is a tank soldier, not because he was a tank soldier, but because he always wears a tank soldier hat during the game, which is also Sech's iconic feature. This tank soldier hat is by no means a sensationalism, but to protect Sech's head. Sech's head was seriously injured, and the doctor even concluded that Sech would never be able to engage in sports in his life, especially professional football, but Sech only took a few months to stand in front of Chelsea's goal line again. Before Sech was injured, he was already a quasi-world-class goalkeeper. The Czech is 196 centimeters tall and weighs 90 kilograms. His ability to charge, one-on-one, and hand control are all top-notch, and his mentality in major competitions is extremely stable. Although there are not many fancy saves, there are rarely times when he loses a chain. Sech was hit by an opposing attacking player in a match against Reading on October 14, 2006, resulting in a skull fracture. At that time, Sech's first reaction was not to lie on the ground, but to desperately grab the ball and press it under his body, and then he fell to the ground. After being sent to the hospital, the doctor said that steel bars must be put into his head, and those broken bone fragments will take many years to heal, and during the entire healing process, he cannot exercise vigorously. However, in less than 3 months, Sech returned to the training ground with a head full of steel bars and skull fragments. What was different from the past was that he had a protective headgear like a tank soldier's hat on his head. It was with such a serious injury that Sech, wearing a protective headgear, helped Chelsea to overcome all obstacles, and finally won the league championship, FA Cup championship and Champions League championship. What is Iron Blood? This is Iron Blood. In this era, Iron Blood is synonymous with Chelsea. Chelsea is a group of iron-blooded men who get together to form an awesome team, and no one dares to disobey. In general, Ancelotti didn't care about his reputation this time, and sent out almost all the main lineup. Some of Chelsea's superstars didn't have the opportunity to participate in this game, and could only watch from the bench, or on the sidelines. For example, Drogba, the Warcraft, Lone Wolf, Great Immortal Daniel Sturridge, and European Ronaldinho Urizakov. Chapter 466. English League One's top number 8. 1 versus World's top number 8. Lampard was shocked. The reason why Drogba didn't play was because Torres had just transferred to Chelsea. Torres' value was much higher than Drogba's, and Torres was much more handsome than Drogba. Especially the female fans of the Blues preferred to see Torres rather than Drogba. In addition, Torres' running and footwork were also the kind that Ancelotti liked. Drogba basically had one move on the front line, running around, taking the ball with his back, and turning to shoot. Torres would have many exciting moves on the front line. So, when Torres came, Drogba frowned and sat on the bench. Ancelotti comforted Drogba privately, saying that playing against a small team like Southampton, Drogba didn't need to play at all. Drogba didn't really believe Ancelotti's words, but Drogba couldn't refute it. This was different from planting a flag with an Elka. Planting a flag with an Elka was a head-on contest between players, and now Torres was obviously protected by the entire club's top management. Drogba now hopes that Torres will not play well. It would be best if he didn't score a goal. The reason why Sturridge didn't play and didn't have a substitute was that Sturridge had just been loaned to Bolton Wanderers for half a season. So Sturridge, the England's Great Britain star and England's FA Youth Cup champion, missed the opportunity to compete with Guran one-on-one. Of course, even if Sturridge was still in Chelsea at this time, Sturridge couldn't play. Even Drogba had to be a substitute, so how could Sturridge start? Chelsea at this time was a typical taxi. The team was full of talents, and even the Great Britain star could be loaned out. Sturridge's real rise was not in Chelsea, but in Liverpool. Sturridge is also a king-level player. He is the one who charges for 2 hours and talks for 5 minutes. He also has a famous nickname called Daxon, because he is very superstitious. Whether it is training or playing, he walks into the field backwards. Moreover, the volume for watching TV and playing games must be 18. When a teammate asked him why, Sturridge said it sounded auspicious. Sturridge is also a well-known glass man. Almost all of his body, except for his penis, has been injured. As for the European little Rozhakov, his knee was injured, and he needed to rest for half a month, so he was not included in the game list. In general, Chelsea still attaches great importance to this game. Ancelotti sent out almost all the main players. On the one hand, it was related to his cautious coaching style. On the other hand, it was probably to please the big boss Abramovich, who was watching the game in the box. At this time, the referee finally blew the whistle in his mouth. In the first round of the League Cup quarterfinals, Southampton's away challenge to the last Premier League champion Chelsea officially began. Chelsea kicked off first. Torres knocked the ball back to Lampard steadily, and then quickly inserted into Southampton's half. Southampton's formation immediately began to close a gap. Lambert, the defensive midfielder, took the initiative to defend Tours, while Guran, the front midfielder, did not return to defend, but pressed Lambert, who was holding the ball. Today, Southampton's tactics were also very clear. The whole team defended with all their strength, and Guran stared at Lambert. Seeing Guran coming up, Lambert was not panicked at all. He continued to observe, while pulling the ball to the side. Blue Kenyan Ramirez was next to Lambert, ready to sacrifice himself as an engineer for Lambert at any time. African Buffalo Essien also followed Lambert with a covetous look, ready to rush up and sweep at any time. It can be said that Chelsea showed strong midfield control and pressure from the beginning. Lambert did not seem to be in a hurry to pass the ball, but wanted to attract Guran to be out of touch and expose the space behind him. Guran was not afraid at all and rushed directly towards Lambert. Ramirez immediately turned sideways to block Guran's interception. Guran had expected Ramirez to come forward to block and immediately made an emergency stop and followed Cruyff's turn, avoiding Ramirez's interception without any contact. Ramirez was stunned. He had never met such a fast, flexible opponent. Ramirez wanted to stop and turn around to intercept, but his center of gravity could not be pulled back in such a short time, and he was almost knocked to the ground. This was just when the game started. Ramirez almost lost face. Without waiting for Ramirez to adjust, Guran stuck behind Ramirez and cut diagonally towards Lambert, who was advancing with the ball. Lambert immediately accelerated to get rid of him. Lambert was very fast, but Guran was even faster. Guran pressed his body against Lambert in the first second. When Lambert started at high speed, Lambert ran while protecting the ball and elbowed Guran's ribs, trying to get rid of Guran through aggressive physical confrontation. However, Guran stuck to Lambert tightly, forcing Lambert to slow down in order to protect the ball. All the fans present couldn't help but shout excitedly. No one expected that the game would start with such an exciting head-on confrontation. The top number 8 in English Football League One is no less than the top number 8 in the world. Lambert was also shocked. He had seen Guran play football with his own eyes, but at that time, Guran was at most a semi-professional level, and his playing style was also very grassroots. Unexpectedly, in just half a year, Guran's growth has become so strong. Lambert couldn't help but complain in his heart, why haven't the club's top executives dug Guran to Chelsea in half a year? If they dug him earlier, wouldn't this happen? Lambert was forced to stop and place by Guran, and the path to breakthrough and the route of the pass were all blocked by Guran. In desperation, Lambert could only pass the ball back to Big Ivanovic, who came up to respond. After Big Ivan got the ball, he immediately rushed across the center line with the ball. Opposite to the right back Big Ivan was the left midfielder Chamberlain. Chamberlain rushed towards Big Ivan with great momentum. Big Ivan didn't even look at Chamberlain and just used his body to force the ball. Chamberlain was immediately knocked out, and Southampton's left side was instantly in danger. Fortunately, Hammond filled the position in time, and midfielder Lambert also responded in time. The central defender Walton, who was very experienced, stepped forward and temporarily served as half of the midfielder. The entire Southampton team's defense line was also shrinking and gathering rapidly, not giving Chelsea any chances. Big Ivan broke into the range of 35 meters and directly made a surgical level diagonal long pass to cut through Southampton's high altitude defense and sent the ball into Southampton's penalty area. Tours, Chapter 467. Hurt the enemy 50 and lose 100 of your own money? No way. Tours, get in from the back. In terms of running ability in front of the goal, Tours is definitely at the level of the world's top center forward. Under the double teaming of Font and JD, Tours jumped up with great momentum and headed the ball out of the end line. Chelsea fans immediately covered their faces and sighed. Southampton fans breathed a sigh of relief with their hearts pounding. It must be said that Chelsea's offensive was really amazing. Less than a minute after the start of the game, Chelsea had already launched a round of shots, and this attack really showed Chelsea's strong strength as the overlord of the Premier League. Big Ivan's impact and accurate cross-ball footwork made Southampton unable to defend at all. T9 Shanghai's running position to grab points was enough to make Southampton's seemingly tight defense line tremble. The XG goal expectation of this ball is very high, if not 0.9, then 0.8. Fortunately, the Holy Child did not find his form at the beginning, otherwise Chelsea would have won 1-0 against Southampton. Of course, the main reason for this ball is not the Holy Child, nor the Big Ivan, but the Genie Lamp. Lampard seemed to be blocked by Guran from attacking forward, but in fact, Lampard rushed forward to create space for the back row players to move forward. Guran could block Lampard in front, but could not block Lampard's back 360 degrees. For a player like Lampard, if he cannot block 360 degrees, then at most he can only limit Lampard's ability by 50%, while Lampard can play at least 150% of his ability in a game. That is, one person can replace 1.5 people. Blocking half of Lampard has an effect, but not much. For Guran, the more troublesome thing is that Lampard has a very high football IQ on the field. When he is in a 1v1 confrontation, he will consciously attract Guran to the side, thereby pulling away from Guran and other teammates, and putting Guran in an encouraging situation. In this way, when Lampard passes the ball to Ivan, even if Guran sprints at full speed, it is difficult to form an effective defensive cooperation with his teammates in a short time. This is equivalent to Lampard's ability being restricted by Guran by 50%, and Guran's ability is also abolished by Lampard by 100%. Guran was originally able to play as 2 people, but in this duel, Lampard can only play as 1 person, and Guran can only play as 1 person. Killing 50% of the enemy will hurt 100% of yourself. Guran also immediately realized that such a deal is not cost effective, and he must change the way he plays as a front midfielder next, otherwise he will fall into a situation where he sprints back and forth but never touches the ball. The ordinary defensive midfielder's forward kick is not enough to deal with the world-class magic lamp. It needs some intensity and aggression. To deal with a master like Lampard, you can't suppress him without a sweeping kick. The game continues. Goalkeeper Davis kicked the goal kick near the center line. Guran predicted the landing point and rushed up to meet it. At the same time, Ramirez also rushed towards Guran quickly. Ramirez didn't judge the landing point, but just stared at Guran. Wherever Guran ran, the Blue Canyon ran there. Anyway, on the football field, no one can outrun the Blue Canyon. It has always been Ramirez who walks others, and no one can walk Ramirez. Seeing that Guran was about to jump up to stop the ball, Ramirez didn't give Guran this opportunity at all. Ramirez had also watched Guran's game highlights, and he had just been dazzled by Guran. He knew Guran's flexibility and speed very well, so Ramirez's way of limiting Guran was to stick to Guran before Guran got the ball. As soon as Ramirez came close, Guran suddenly stopped and turned back. Ramirez quickly followed and followed closely again. Guran stopped and turned in the opposite direction, then jumped up and headed the ball forward without stopping the ball. Ramirez was stunned by Guran's 2 sudden stops. Ramirez's reaction speed was not at the same level as Guran's. Guran's header went directly to the front of the penalty area, passed over Essine's head, and landed accurately at the feet of Lallana, who was inserted in the back row. Essine immediately ran to chase, and Terry also came up to block Lallana. There is a wolf in front and a tiger behind. Chelsea's defense will not give Lallana any breathing time. Lallana did not even have time to adjust and directly shot from outside the penalty area. This is also the offensive style arranged by Coach Adkins before the game. Long pass after getting the ball in the backcourt, and a shot must be completed within 3 kicks. Southampton's offense is so simple and crude. For Southampton, whose forward line is not very strong, the success rate of this offensive style of play will not be very high. However, when playing against a strong team like Chelsea, the simpler it is, the more energy it can save. And if you are lucky, it will be a big profit. Lallana's long-range shot is accurate and has an arc, but it lacks explosive power. Goalkeeper Sech predicted the direction of the ball early and easily held the ball with both hands. Southampton striker Gilly rushed up to prepare for a supplementary shot and saw that Sech had held the ball early, so he slowed down immediately. Gilly also took the opportunity to block Sech's opportunity to launch a fast break. Of course, Sech was not in a hurry to face Southampton. After all his players were in position, Sech threw the ball to Ashley Cole, the first scumbag in the Premier League, on his left side. After getting the ball, Ashley Cole immediately dribbled the ball along the side. Southampton did not use high pressure throughout the court, but continued to shrink the defense line to their own half for intensive defense. It is impossible to play oppression against a strong team like Chelsea that has both offensive and defensive capabilities. If you oppress Chelsea, Chelsea can easily get behind you. Forward Lallana also retreated to his own half to help intercept Ashley Cole on the right side of his team. Guran continued to follow Lampard, because if Ashley Cole could not break through, he would inevitably pass the ball to Lampard for reorganization. Lampard pulled back and forth near the right side, looking for space and opportunities. Guran followed Lampard, and could stick to intercept at any time. Ramirez, a blue Kenyan, followed Guran. As long as Guran started to attack, Ramirez would immediately entangle Guran and create opportunities for Lampard to respond. Both sides were linked together. The game was so exciting and tense at the beginning. At this time, on the right side, Ashley Cole relied on his super personal ability to pass Schneiderlin, who was defending him. At the same time as Schneiderlin was being dribbled past, he reached out and pulled Ashley Cole, who almost fell down. Lallana made up for him in time and almost intercepted the ball, but Ashley Cole, who is worthy of being the world's #1 left back, quickly stabilized his balance at the critical moment and forced the ball to Lampard, who had already penetrated to Southampton 35 meters away. Chapter 468 Holy Infant Tours. World-class shooting posture. Lampard seized the opportunity, stepped forward, and intercepted the not-so-good pass at his feet. Then, Lampard made a slight adjustment and prepared to kick the ball straight. The Holy Child Tours had already rushed into the penalty area, and Malauda on the left and Anelka on the right also inserted from Southampton's ribs. Southampton's defense was almost full of holes in this moment by Chelsea's trident. It's not that Southampton didn't defend carefully, but that they really couldn't defend. Malauda alone is already very deadly, Anelka is even more deadly, and Tours is even more deadly. Southampton's defense is already in chaos. No matter who Lampard points the way to with the magic lamp, this ball is almost a sure goal. However, just before Lampard was about to kick the ball, Guran rushed towards Lampard at a speed of violent aesthetics. Lampard was not panicked at all. His previous fine-tuning was to prevent Guran. Through the previous fine-tuning, Lampard had already gotten ahead of Guran and would never let Guran have a chance to touch the ball unless Guran directly used the method of shoveling from behind. However, what Lampard never expected was that after Guran came up without slowing down, he directly hit Lampard's buttocks with his hips. Suddenly, Lampard could not pass the ball with his legs. Engineer Ramirez quickly arrived and wanted to knock Guran away as soon as possible. But Guran didn't wait for Ramirez to touch him, and he directly stretched out his foot from behind Lampard and poked the ball under Lampard's feet. This action was extremely aggressive, but it was not a foul. Lampard never expected that Guran would be so proactive, and from behind him, Lampard stumbled a few steps and ran to chase the ball, but Lampard was one step faster and kicked the ball out of the sideline. Chelsea got a throw-in. Southampton got a chance to breathe under the huge offensive pressure. This time, Southampton's defense line has completely collapsed, but fortunately, Guran, who was in the front position, started to fight Lampard in an aggressive way and did not let Lampard's magic lamp guide the way. Otherwise, the score of 1-0 would have appeared at the beginning. Chelsea kicked the ball out of bounds. Almost all of Southampton's players shrank near the penalty area. Anelka's first shot, after getting the ball, hit the wall and bounced out. Anelka got the second point and shot again. This shot was so powerful that the football went over the crossbar and flew out of the end line. 3 minutes into the game, Chelsea had already had 3 shots, and Southampton had 1 shot. In terms of tactical style, both teams are pragmatic and defensive teams, but the offensive rhythm of both sides in this game is faster than that of the offensive teams. Chelsea's attack was not slow at all. Basically, they handed it over to Lampard when there was an opportunity. If there was no opportunity, they would fly forward from both wings to the 30-meter area to cross the ball. The winger would cut inside to cover, and the center forward would look for an opportunity to shoot. Southampton's style of play was even simpler. The whole team defended. Guran went out to defend and restrict Lampard, and once he got the ball, he would make a long pass from the backcourt, relying on the forward and shadow forward to fight for opportunities and grab the second point to make up the shot. Although Guran was easily pulled away by Lampard when defending and could not form a tacit joint defense with his teammates, when Guran was defending Lampard alone, he was very proactive in showing his aggressiveness, which greatly limited Lampard's passing role in the midfield. Ramirez had been running with Guran, and Ramirez was indeed physically unlimited and extremely confrontational. The key was that Ramirez's speed and explosiveness were far behind Guran. Guran could shake Ramirez away with a body position with an emergency stop. Therefore, Ramirez was almost unable to restrict Guran. Guran seemed to have not gained much advantage in the duel with Lampard, but in fact, Guran alone restricted Lampard and Ramirez. So, from the perspective of a one-on-one duel with the world's top number 8, Guran did not win. However, from the actual situation of this game, Guran disrupted Chelsea's central axis by himself. Ancelotti was wearing a suit, with his hands in his trousers pockets, chewing gum in his mouth, staring at the situation on the field without saying a word. In his opinion, there is no problem in winning the English League One team Southampton by a large score in this game, so he focused more on observing Tours and Guran in this game. Tours is already the meat on Chelsea's plate, and according to the determination of the boss Abramovich, Guran will be able to come to Chelsea soon. At that time, where should Guran be placed? Left back? Replace Ashley Cole? Or put him in the midfield, standing parallel to Lampard, helping Lampard do the dirty work? You can't go to the left winger to replace Malauda, right? Oh, to luxurious Alinup is also a kind of distress. A smug smile appeared on Ancelotti's chubby cheeks. On the other side, Coach Adkins in the away team's tactical area kept yelling, reminding Southampton's players not to stop running. The game was in the 7th minute. With Guran almost blocking Lampard, Ivanovic took the ball and launched a fast break on the left side of the Southampton team. Southampton's formation then shrank and compressed to the left. Anelka interspersed and ran and went down to the bottom to respond. At least 3 Southampton players were attracted by Anelka, and there was a gap in the middle. Guran was in front to defend Lampard, who was more critical and could not come back quickly to make up for it. Big Ivan took the opportunity to cut inside and then made a precise pass on the ground, passing the ball to the feet of the Holy Child Tours, who had penetrated into the penalty area. Chelsea's cooperation is so simple, smooth, and effective. After Tours got the ball, he toed his right foot and made a beautiful fake move to pass Walton, who was flying and shoveling. Then he volleyed the ball into the far corner with his left foot. This shot was so beautiful. From the perspective of the action, it was absolutely perfect and flawless. This level of action is almost impossible for a centre forward, especially a British standing centre forward, especially a Drogba style centre forward. Goalkeeper Davis was standing at the near corner to block it. He didn't expect that Tours, as a centre forward, would use his left foot to volley the ball into the far corner. Davis was powerless and could only stand there and bang. The football hit the dead corner of the far goalpost and the crossbar, and then bounced out of the end line. The arms raised by Chelsea fans to celebrate were all frozen in mid-air. Southampton fans cheered excitedly. Davis trembled and drew a cross on his chest. He himself was not that pious, but today, the Holy Child Tours had missed 2 goals with his feet. This must be thanked by God. Tours himself was also depressed and shook his head. Chapter 469. Iron-blooded Guran. Southampton remained strong in the storm. The game continued. Although Tours had missed 2 shots, the game had just begun, and Chelsea's offensive was still wave after wave, one wave higher than the other. Of course, most of Chelsea's offensives were initiated by the left and right side backs. Lampard, the genie on the central axis, was restricted by Guran at this time, and the engineer Ramirez was anxious and could not help. Ramirez wanted to be fierce and knock Guran to the ground. But before this game, Coach Ancelotti had specifically told him not to kill his future Chelsea teammates, especially when the big boss Abramovich was watching the game in person. Therefore, Ramirez could only run behind Guran honestly, and at most he stretched out his hand to pull Guran's jersey. However, the action of pulling the jersey could not limit Guran's performance at all. The game was in the 13th minute. Ashley Cole dribbled the ball and quickly blasted along the right side of Southampton. Schneiderlin and Villana joined forces to press, but Ashley Cole easily broke through with his speed and body impact. When Lambert and Font came up to intercept Ashley Cole, left winger Malauda took the opportunity to cut inside to the empty area behind Font and Lambert. Ashley Cole saw the opportunity and immediately made a strong pass. Lambert stretched his legs to intercept, but he was a beat too late. The ball passed through the gap between him and Font and was accurately delivered to Malauda's feet. After Malauda got the ball, he quickly stepped forward, then swung his left leg and shot violently. At the critical moment, Walton made a self-sacrificing flying tackle and blocked the powerful shot with his ankle without touching Malauda. Walton made a contribution. The ball bounced out of the penalty area, but the crisis was not resolved. After passing the ball, Ashley Cole also moved forward to the vicinity of the penalty area, and the first landing point of the ball was just within Ashley Cole's range. While chasing back, Ashley Cole pushed Schneiderlin away with his wrist. This action was not done with the palm, so the referee did not blow the whistle. Ashley Cole jumped high without being blocked and touched the ball with his chest. Then, Ashley Cole made a move to shoot directly from a distance. JD and Walton, who had just climbed up, immediately blocked him desperately. However, Ashley Cole made a toe-tip move, then cut inside with the ball. The center axis of Southampton's penalty area was empty. Just as Ashley Cole was about to cut inside to the top of the arc, Duran turned into a black and white lightning and chased him from behind at a rapid speed. With a deadly sliding tackle, he accurately shuttled the ball out of the sideline from the side. Ashley Cole was shocked and did not retract his foot. The studs of his left foot heavily scratched the back of Duran's head. Duran suddenly felt a sharp pain and subconsciously reached out to touch the hair on the back of his head. His hands were already wet, and then he looked at his hands, which were full of blood. The fans at the scene all screamed in surprise. Not only were the Saints fans who came from afar extremely worried, but even the Blues fans were worried about Duran. The referee blew the whistle to stop the game and signaled the team doctor to come on the court. The exclusive team doctor, Math, and Southampton's chief team doctor ran into the stadium eagerly with first aid kits. In fact, apart from some pain, Duran didn't have any major problems with his body. After all, he had a physical fitness of 85 points and the basics of Tin Man, body of steel +6. He just bled a little and could continue the game. However, in order to prevent himself from leaving the field temporarily, Duran still lay on the grass honestly, waiting for Math to arrive. Math quickly checked the wound on the back of Duran's head and said in a trembling voice, "Du's wound is quite big. I'm afraid he will need stitches." Duran smiled and said, "Fortunately it's not on my face, otherwise, I wouldn't be a handsome guy." Math said sadly, "Boo, how can you still smile at this time? Your wound is so big, I'd better let Coach Adkins replace you." As he said that, Math was about to wave to Coach Adkins, who looked nervous. Duran grabbed Maeve's hand and said, "No, I know my own injury. I'm fine. I can still play. It's just a little bleeding. Have you forgotten that you are a miracle doctor? Just bandage it for me." Maeve said quickly, "Go. Your wound is very big. Vigorous running will tear it all the time." Duran said in a deep voice, "Then sew it up for me. Sew it now, right here." Maeve opened his mouth and wanted to popularize medical knowledge to Duran again, but when he made firm eye contact with Duran, he understood that Duran would never leave the field, not even temporarily leaving the field, to go to the sidelines for treatment. Maeve immediately and decisively took out the needle and did not use an aesthetic for Duran. He just disinfected it and started to sew the wound on the back of Duran's head. More than a dozen cameras on the sidelines were all filming Duran's stitching. All the female fans of Southampton covered their eyes and cried in pain. The fans of Chelsea also shook their heads in admiration. Assistant coach Emanello, who was standing on the Chelsea bench, said excitedly, "Iron-blooded, iron-blooded. Du must be our Chelsea man. He must be." At this time, Davis Walton and others surrounded the referee and asked the referee to show Ashley Cole a red card. Ashley Cole's action was too dangerous. Although it cannot be concluded that Ashley Cole deliberately kicked Duran's back of the head, it is impossible to say that Ashley Cole has no bad intentions with such a serious injury. It is really unreasonable for the referee not to do something. At this time, Chelsea's captain John Terry trotted to the referee and said, "Mr. Referee, should Goo's treatment and suture be temporarily off the field for treatment, to resume the game first?" The referee nodded. According to the rules, injured players who need treatment cannot delay the progress of the game. They need to go to the sidelines for treatment, and then at the next dead ball, they can return to the field with the referee's permission. However, without Guran's suppression of the central axis, Lampard and Ramirez were really completely liberated. Then Southampton will face a top-level attack. With Southampton's current defense, they can't stop the combination of the magic lamp and the trident. Davis immediately said to the referee, "Mr. Referee, please wait a moment. Before resuming the game, you must first give us Southampton an explanation. Ashley Cole must be sent off." Ashley Cole looked helpless. Chapter 470, Vanessa Run. Holy Infant Tours missed again. The referee hesitated for a moment, then took out a yellow card, warning Ashley Cole that his action was too dangerous. Southampton's players and fans were very dissatisfied with this. In fact, the head coach was more inclined to Southampton by giving Ashley Cole a yellow card. After all, in Chelsea's home court, it was Guran who took the initiative to slide, and Ashley Cole's action itself could be judged or not. After receiving this yellow card, Ashley Cole also sneered at the referee and wanted to argue. But Captain Terry suppressed Ashley Cole and prevented him from being impulsive. At this time, if he was impulsive, it would be easy to get a second yellow card and be sent off. Although Chelsea is several levels stronger than Southampton, it is not yet at the point where 10 people against 11 people can guarantee a complete victory. At this time, Walton, who was carrying out a secret mission, came to Terry and said, "Hey, Terry, Bridge asked me to ask you a question for him." Terry's eyes widened immediately. For a long time, Terry had always wanted to apologize to his good brother Bridge, but Bridge had always ignored him. Even in the game between Manchester City and Chelsea, Bridge refused to shake his hand. Now, when Terry heard Walton say that Bridge had something to say to him, he suddenly became excited. What does Bridge want to ask?" Walton grinned and said, "Vanessa Run." Terry was like being struck by lightning, and the whole person was stunned in place. Then, Terry clenched his fists and roared at Walton with a smirk on his face. "What did you say? What the hell did you say?" The name Vanessa hit Terry's most painful spot. Fortunately, Ashley Cole next to him was quick-witted and grabbed Terry like a beast, which prevented Terry from getting a card. Ashley Cole was also completely confused. The captain just advised him to calm down, and it was only a few seconds later that the captain was about to kill someone. And this is Walton's secret mission today, to make Terry out of control. In this kind of knockout match, both sides can attack weaknesses by any means to win, and trash talk is sometimes a necessary part of tactics. While the two sides were arguing, Maeve had already sutured Guran's wound. The referee ran to Guran and urged him to leave the field for treatment. Guran stood up directly, saying that he had already sutured and could continue the game. The referee looked at Guran in astonishment, then nodded with a shocked expression. Maeve and another team doctor didn't even have time to wipe the hot blood stains on their hands. They quickly bandaged Guran's head and then left the field. Thunderous applause rang out from the stands on all four sides of Stamford Bridge. Chelsea fans prefer the iron-blooded Warriors. Through this incident, most Chelsea fans have already regarded Guran as their own Blues player. Lampard walked to Guran's side, shook hands with Guran. "Good job, Gu." Guran smiled. "Nothing, Frank. I will continue to keep an eye on you." Lampard was also aroused with infinite pride. "Ha ha ha. Good. I will also show the state I played in the Champions League final. Let's have a good fight. Come on." The blood in the stadium was boiling. The game continued. Chelsea's throw-in. Ashley Cole, who had just received a yellow card, threw a powerful throw-in. Essien received it outside the penalty area and then quickly jumped the ball into the penalty area. Tours jumped high, but Guran, with a bandage on his head and blood on the bandage, retreated one step ahead and headed the ball out of the danger zone. Lambert grabbed the first landing point and then kicked it across the center line. After Gully got the ball, he quickly advanced along the middle. Terry intercepted it head-on. Ivanovic and Essien sprinted back, to defend at high speed B2B, and instantly formed a 3-on-1 double team situation for Gully, who was almost in a single-handed state. Gilly was alone in the front court and could only make a long shot, but under the high pressure of 3 world-class players, Gilly's long shot missed the goal by a wide margin. From the start to now, Sech had to keep jumping to keep his body warm. Judging from the situation on the scene, the strength of the two sides is really not on the same level. The game continues. Chelsea is still attacking wildly, and Southampton's defense is in turmoil. Almost every wave can be penetrated by Chelsea's trident. However, the good thing is that Guran alone locked the genie lamp Lampard and the blue Kenyan Ramirez tightly. Guran can occasionally return to defense at high speed to help Southampton patch up the damaged defense. In the 21st minute, Lampard finally seized the opportunity and found a gap behind Chamberlain. With a quick and powerful genie, he sent the ball to Anelka's feet. Anelka then took the ball to the bottom 8 Hammond, who was blocking him with his body, and then made a beautiful cross. Tors inserted from the back row and headed the ball. This position is excellent. In order to prevent Anelka from cutting inside, goalkeeper Davis has moved to the left side of the goal. As long as Tors can head the ball, it will definitely go in. At this time, Guran chased back with violent aesthetics and blocked Tors' key position with his body. Tors headed the ball, but it was a miss. The football was like it was cleared. Facing the empty goal, it flew diagonally out of the end line. This is the 3rd time Tors has missed a goal that he must have scored. The Chelsea fans at the scene all hugged their heads in annoyance. Tors himself was also full of depression. He is now eager to prove himself, and to prove that Chelsea did not buy the wrong person. However, the more he is eager to prove it, the more counterproductive it is. The first half of the game is almost halfway through, and the powerful Chelsea team can still score a goal against the English League One team Southampton, which can't help but make Ancelotti on the sidelines a little anxious. Ancelotti signaled the 2 wingers to increase the frequency of interweaving. The game continued. Southampton was still defending in their own half, not in a hurry to launch an offensive. Chelsea continued to press forward. Lampard kept running back and forth in the midfield, looking for a chance to get rid of Guran, while Guran followed Lampard tightly, not allowing Lampard to organize the connection. Behind Guran was Ramirez, who was like a dogskin plaster. These 3 people kept running in one breath, whether they had the ball or not. Without Lampard, the core of the organization, Chelsea relied more on the left and right wings to launch attacks. Although Ashley Cole and Ivanovic are also world class, without the support of the middle, Chelsea's formation seemed to be cut apart. The turning point came in the 29th minute. Chapter 471, the 3 major B2B battles with Guran. The scene is full of passion. In the 29th minute, Ivanovic dribbled the ball wildly on the left side of Southampton. Chamberlain stepped forward to intercept Ivan. Ivan easily got rid of Chamberlain's interception with his body and speed. Chamberlain reached out to pull Ivan's arm, but was thrown away by Ivan. Lambert and Hammond double-teamed Ivan at the same time. Ivan made a beautiful wall-to-wall match with Lampard, who was taking advantage of the opportunity, and then bypassed Lambert and Hammond, and took the ball directly to the bottom. Guran had already tried his best to defend Lampard, but Lampard's sharp running still found an opportunity to cooperate in a very short time. And it was just such a simple wall-to-wall match that Southampton's left side was instantly penetrated. Football is like this. World-class players often do not have any gorgeous or difficult skills. They only need to appear at the most appropriate time and place to complete exquisite cooperation. From this perspective, if Guran had not almost locked Lampard, Southampton would have been beaten into a sieve long ago. Just as Ivan was dribbling the ball down the bottom line, Anelka cut inside without hesitation. JD was forced to come out to intercept Ivan, but Hammond's pursuit was obviously a beat slower, leaving a gap for Ivan to pass the ball. Without strong pressure, Ivan decisively swept the ball to the front of the goal. Tors inserted from the back row to prepare for the goal. However, Anelka stretched his legs one step earlier than Tors, and before Walton rushed over to interfere, he pushed the ball. Davis fell to the ground sideways, but didn't catch it. The football passed through the gap under Davis' armpit and rolled into the near corner of the goal. The ball went in. The 30th minute of the game. Chelsea finally scored a goal. The Blues fans cheered excitedly. The entire Stamford Bridge Stadium was rumbling and trembling with thunderous cheers. Southampton fans shook their heads and sighed helplessly. In fact, Southampton had done a good job in defending the first 30 minutes without losing the ball. The players also tried their best, especially Guran, who was bleeding from his head and insisted on not leaving the field. This made the Southampton Saints feel relieved. However, after holding on for so long, they still conceded a goal, which made Southampton fans feel bad after all. And there was nothing they could do about it. After all, Chelsea's lineup was full of Champions League level players, and more than half of them were world class. Southampton was able to play like this because of Guran's desperate defense in the middle. After Chelsea celebrated, the game continued. In the 35th minute, Torres continued to miss shots, and Southampton got a chance to counter-attack. Lambert passed the ball to Guran in the middle, and Guran immediately started at high speed, shaking off Lampard and Ramirez. But the next moment, Essien rushed towards him. Guran immediately protected the ball and made a Marcel turn. Essien's impact was too strong. Even though Guran used his body and speed to dodge and avoid most of Essien's impact, he was still knocked off balance. Although the ball under his feet was not intercepted by Essien, it was also in a semi-out of control state. Guran had to slow down to maintain his balance and regain control of the ball. In such a short time, Lampard and Ramirez came back to catch up. The 3B2B midfielders launched a desperate stranglehold on Guran. Guran's fast break opportunity was gone, and now he had to find a way to pass the ball. Guran calmly leaned on Lampard with his back to prevent Lampard from fighting him head on. You know, among the 3B2Bs, Lampard is not the most aggressive, but from the perspective of on-the-spot reaction, Lampard is definitely the most deadly. While leaning on Lampard, Guran quickly made a fried meatball. Essien and Ramirez didn't dare to kick Ashley for a while. They just surrounded and locked Guran, not giving Guran a chance to break through. Guran saw the opportunity and kicked the ball directly to Essien on the side. Essien was not prepared, and when he wanted to clamp his legs together again, it was too late. While Essien turned around and prepared to chase the ball, Guran immediately exerted force and knocked away Ramirez, who was close to him. Ramirez has unlimited physical energy, a strong body, and is very aggressive, but Guran is not a vegetarian. Under Guran's full strength impact, Ramirez staggered back several steps and then barely stabilized his body, but his close stranglehold on Guran was gone. Guran took the opportunity to run wildly. Lampard stretched out his hand and pulled Guran's jersey. Guran directly shook his hand and quickly pushed Lampard's arm away, and then the violent aesthetic sprint speed was full. Lallana caught the ball Guran had just kicked. The cooperation in playing football for a long time was not in vain. After Lallana got the ball, he didn't wait for Essien to rush over and immediately knocked the ball sideways. After Guran got rid of Lampard and Ramirez, he immediately got Lallana's kick. The two of them played a 2-on-3 match in front of 3 world-class B2B midfielders. The Saints fans and the entire South Stand were all crazy. Guran was unstoppable and dribbled straight into Chelsea's penalty area. Terry and David Lewis pushed out at the same time, compressing Guran's breakthrough channel. Guran was not polite either and directly made a violent long shot from the top of the penalty area. The football was like an electromagnetic cannonball, drawing a bright arc in front of all the fans at the scene, and blasted towards Chelsea's goal with full force. Bang! Goalkeeper Sech made a save and bravely blocked this heavy shot like the god of war Batistuta. The Saints fans at the scene all exclaimed involuntarily. You know, Guran's shooting success rate is extremely high. Not to mention 9 out of 10, at least 7 or 8 out of 10, and Guran's long-range shooting success rate is even higher. Guran's long-range shooting is sudden, tricky, fast, and powerful. Most goalkeepers can only stick to it when facing Guran's long-range shooting. However, this time, Guran's violent long-range shooting was blocked by Sech. Sech at this time was indeed the world's top goalkeeper at his peak. Too stable. Of course, Terry and David Lewis also contributed to the blocking of this ball. Terry and David Lewis are also world class. Their pressure of closing the door and pressing forward did indeed prevent Guran from kicking at the best time. Their blocking route also limited Guran's kick to a fixed area, and Sech only blocked this heavy artillery with his body. Sec's inner horror was much greater than Guran's horror. Sec's catch slipped out of his hand, and his entire arm was numb. At this time, Lalana had already rushed to the front of the goal, grabbed the first point, and forced a shot when his body was about to lose balance. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 472, Dirty Work Done Well. The first half is over. Do you want to open champagne at half time? Sech leaped up again and pressed Lalana's supplementary shot under him. All the Southampton Saints fans held their heads and lamented. Chelsea's goal is really too difficult to break. Sech at this time is really too strong. He can make 2 consecutive saves in such a short time. Lalana shook his head with annoyance. He was not fully prepared for this ball. He failed to exert his strength and failed to better suppress the shooting angle of the ball. But anyway, this wave of attack can be regarded as the 2 most threatening shots of Southampton since the start of the game. Guran ran up to help Lalana up, who was kneeling on the grass, and touched Lalana's head to encourage him. Although the score is still 1-0 and Southampton is behind, as long as they continue to play like this, Southampton still has hope. The Saints fans at the scene also applauded Guran and Lalana. The game continues. In the 39th minute, Chelsea's Malauda forced a corner kick on the right side of Southampton. Lampard took the penalty, while Guran returned to the penalty area to defend the high point. Almost all of Chelsea's tall players squeezed into Southampton's penalty area. Walton deliberately stuck to Terry, chattering about Vanessa's abortion. Terry was furious, but he had to hold it in for the sake of the game. Walton continued to talk trash and put his hand around Terry's neck. Terry pushed Walton away angrily. The referee blew the whistle and warned Terry and Walton. Lampard kicked a beautiful arc ball to the front of the goal, and Tors jumped high in the chaos. Guran also jumped next to Tors to interfere with Tors' header. Tors missed again. The football flew high over the crossbar, as if it was a clearance. Chelsea fans didn't even want to sigh. Tors knelt on the grass, pulling at his blonde hair in frustration. He had wasted at least 4 chances to score today. If this continues, the nickname of Iron God will be confirmed. The game continues. It is obviously the physical window period, but the overall physical fitness of the iron-blooded Chelsea is still very abundant, especially the 3B2B midfielders Lampard, Ramaz and Essien, who really have unlimited physical strength. They are sprinting all over the field and are clearly constantly confronting Guran, but there is no sign of fatigue at all. The injury time in the first half was not 5 minutes. In the 3rd minute of injury time, David Lewis intercepted Schneiderlin's cross and then dribbled straight in. Chelsea's formation also followed suit. Lampard took the opportunity to open up the middle space with Guran, while Lalana and Lambert quickly filled in. The offensive and defensive formations of both sides changed endlessly in an instant. David Lewis used his body to eat Lalana, then made a 2-on-1 match with Ashley Cole, who came up from the wing and then dribbled the ball straight to the front of Southampton's penalty area. David Lewis directly fired a heavy long-range shot. Goalkeeper Davis was very focused, jumped up and blocked the ball, and the football was blocked and flew to the left side of the penalty area. Malauda quickly inserted in, and before Font and Walton caught up to close the door, he poked the ball into the near corner of the goal. Davis was powerless. The ball went in. When Chelsea was about to end the first half, central defender David Lewis drove straight in, and after the violent long-range shot was blocked, Malauda made a supplementary shot in front of the goal. After scoring, Malauda also excitedly ran to the north side of the stands to celebrate. Chelsea fans cheered and celebrated happily, and the score on the big screen of Stamford Bridge was immediately rewritten as Chelsea 2-0 Southampton. All the Southampton players shook their heads and sighed helplessly. They had tried their best to defend in the first half, but the ball was still full of holes. If Guran hadn't basically restricted Lampard in the middle, the score in the first half would definitely be worse than this. This was only the first half, and the difference of 2 goals would definitely not be the end, but most likely just the beginning. At this time, with the referee's whistle, the first half of the game ended. The players of both sides returned to the player tunnel. Lampard walked side by side with Guran and said to Guran with a smile as they walked, "Hey Gu, you played very well in the first half. I was restricted by you and basically didn't get the ball many times. You are really a strong opponent. I'm very glad that I didn't meet an opponent like you among strong teams, otherwise, the result of this game would be hard to say." Guran smiled. "It's only the first half. It's hard to say what the result will be, unless you want to open champagne at halftime." Ha ha ha. Lampard smiled and shook his head. "Of course we won't do that. But to be honest, Gu, a team like Southampton is too weak. This kind of weak team will force you to put more energy into defense, and you won't be able to play your offensive advantage. You should have come to Chelsea earlier. Believe me, your action of getting stitches on the spot when you were injured has conquered the hearts of the Blues fans. Your coming to Stamford Bridge now must be the most anticipated thing for the club's top management and Blues fans." Guran said coldly, "Okay, let's talk about it after I beat you." Although he had a good relationship with Lampard, Guran had no mood to talk and laugh with Lampard during the game, especially when he was behind in the score. Lampard was not annoyed, he just smiled and patted Guran on the shoulder, then walked back to his locker room. In the back, Walton was still pestering Terry, chattering and spitting trash. Terry, who entered the player tunnel, could no longer bear it and turned back to grab Walton's neck. Walton looked like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. "Come on, hit me. Everyone come and see. Terry, who slept with his brother's girlfriend, is going to hit someone again." Southampton's players quickly surrounded him. The fourth official of the referee team also rushed over and shouted at Terry. Terry could only hold back his anger and returned to the home team's locker room. The storm was temporarily calmed down. Captain Davis put his arm around Walton's shoulders and said with a knowing smile, "You did a good job on the dirty work." Walton sighed. "It was almost there. Terry is really patient. If I don't let him explode soon, I will run out of energy and have to be replaced." After returning to the visiting team's locker room, Coach Adkins took the initiative to applaud. "Boys, you played very well in the first half. Although we are temporarily 2 goals behind, we should have been behind by more goals. Such a score in the first half is still within our tolerance range. In the second half, we still have to defend. Lallana, you should retreat a little bit and play as a central midfielder. Stay parallel with Guran and help Guran to limit Lampard. Gu, you should move forward as soon as you have the chance, even if you let Lampard down a bit. In the second half, we must defend and try our best not to let Chelsea score again. At the same time, it would be great if we can score a goal away from home." "Yes, coach." Chapter 473, The Strength of Goalkeeper Sech. Guran was saved by God. 15-minute halftime break. The players of both teams came on the field again and changed sides to fight again. The players of Chelsea seemed very relaxed. After all, they had already scored 2 goals, and they played with great pressure in the first half. Their tactics remained unchanged in the second half. As long as they maintained it, they could easily win the game. Southampton seemed to be under a lot of pressure. Although Coach Adkins had tried his best to relieve the pressure on the players during the halftime break, and also fine-tuned the tactics, Southampton was facing the top team in the Premier League after all. They were 2 points behind in the first half. It was impossible to say that they had no pressure at all. After the game started, Chelsea continued to strengthen their offensive. Lampard simply retreated to prevent Guran from sprinting back and forth to defend. Of course, in this way, Lampard himself was also useless, but Ramirez was freed up and participated more in the connection of the midfield. Although Ramirez's connection effect in the midfield was far less than Lampard's, it was more than enough to deal with Southampton's midfielders. In the second half, when Lampard was almost locked by Guran, and Lampard almost locked Guran, Chelsea used the left and right flanks to launch attacks. Southampton continued to shrink in their own half, struggling to win in the storm of Chelsea. In the 48th minute of the game, Ivanovic dribbled the ball on the left side of Southampton. After passing Chamberlain, he immediately sent a surgically accurate pass into the Southampton penalty area. The Holy Child Torres jumped high and headed the ball. This time, Torres hit the right part. However, Davis played bravely and stretched out his hand in a very extreme posture to lift the powerful football over the crossbar. Chelsea fans sighed in disappointment again. Southampton fans covered their pounding hearts and secretly rejoiced for this ball. Torres put his hands on his hips and shook his head with a depressed look on his face. Chelsea won a corner kick. Duran retreated to the penalty area and specifically guarded Torres. Walton continued to stick to Terry, chattering about Bridge and Vanessa. Terry was really going crazy. Lampard took a corner kick to the front point. Anelka jumped up and headed the ball, but failed to hit it straight, and the ball hit the goal frame and flew out of the end line. When Terry jumped up, he deliberately hit Walton's nose with his elbow. Walton immediately screamed like a pig being slaughtered, holding his bleeding nose and crying and rolling desperately. The referee immediately ran over and showed Terry a yellow card. This was already a special favor to Terry. Terry spit on the ground and walked back to his defense zone with a livid face. He had begun to lose control of his emotions. But fortunately, Chelsea still had an absolute advantage now. After the referee showed the yellow card, Walton immediately stood up, bandaged his nose casually, and ran to take his position. The Blues fans at the scene booed Walton. Walton was not ashamed. His mission today was to do the dirty work. Even if his nose is broken, as long as he can affect Terry today and make Chelsea's goalkeeper lose control of his emotions, he will have completed his mission today. In the technical area on the sidelines, Coach Adkins was already thinking about whether to replace Walton. After all, Walton's physical fitness is not very good, and Walton was injured at this time. Walton seemed to have guessed what Coach Adkins was thinking, and then made a gesture of concern to Coach Adkins. As the deputy team leader, Walton is very experienced, and he knows what he is doing. Walton's move made Coach Ancelotti on the side a little nervous. Ancelotti is the kind of coach who likes to use a Linoob to death and basically doesn't like to make substitutions. But in this situation, Ancelotti has to think about it carefully. First of all, left back Ashley Cole has received a yellow card, and now Captain Terry has received another yellow card because of his lack of calmness. Chelsea's defense line has already carried 2 yellow cards. Walton stayed on the field, obviously looking for opportunities to provoke Terry. If Terry was provoked and sent off again, it would not only be troublesome for this game, but also for the next game. Ancelotti had already thought about replacing Terry. However, the second half had just begun, and replacing the captain at this time would make Terry very unhappy. After hesitating for a while, Ancelotti did not make any adjustments. The game continued. In the 54th minute, Southampton's Lambert and Schneiderlin cooperated to intercept the ball passed by Ashley Cole to Malauda. Ashley Cole immediately counter-obbed on the spot and pulled Schneiderlin's shoulder. Schneiderlin immediately passed the ball to Lambert, who towed and passed Ramires, who rushed up to press. Then, Lambert kicked the ball on the spot and kicked it to Lallana, who retreated to meet it. After Lallana got the ball, he took 2 steps forward and then passed the ball to Guran, who was already in Chelsea's half. Guran was in the front position, and in order to mark Lampard, he had already reached Chelsea's hinterland, so it was difficult for Guran to participate in the overall defense. However, once the counter-attack came, Guran could immediately transform into the most threatening striker. Lampard used his body to block Guran and compete for the ball in the front court. Guran directly confronted Lampard, and under Lampard's desperate resistance, he stopped Lallana's pass. Lampard then pulled Guran's arm, but Guran was full of explosive power. He broke free from Lampard's pull with a strong rush and dribbled straight into Chelsea's penalty area. Terry and David Lewis immediately rushed up to close the door and defend, and goalkeeper Sech also moved in front of the door, ready to save. Guran made a quick Marcel turn, used his body to take on David Lewis, and turned around and directly passed in front of Terry. Terry saw that he could not catch up with Guran, and directly slid. Guran avoided Terry's sliding tackle on the sideline, and faced the goalkeeper Sech. Sech's knees were slightly bent, his eyes were extremely firm. Sech's position was very good, he had no intention of advancing at all, and he would never give Guran a chance to pass him. Seeing the pursuers Essien and Ivanovic quickly coming to double team him, Guran didn't have time to think too much, and directly kicked the ball to the goal. The football was like a sharp razor, shaving the grass, and leaving a visible mark in the penalty area. The force of this shot was explosive. Southampton fans raised their arms high, ready to celebrate, but Sech, as if assisted by God, jumped up and quickly lay down like a rice seedling, stretched out his hand to block the ball out of the end line. God save. Chapter 474, Super Awesome Tactical Corner Kick. God level tactic. Everyone at Stamford Bridge was stunned. Wow. Southampton fans covered their heads and wailed. Duran himself was lying on the grass with his back facing up, gasping for breath. He had already tried his best in this attack. First, he used his body to fight against Lampard, then he broke out of Essene with full speed, and then he quickly turned around to eat David Lewis alive, and changed his line to the limit, to pass Terra's sliding tackle. Duran had done his best in every step. However, only this last shot was blocked by goalkeeper Sech. Of course, there is no shooter in the world who can hit the target every time. Even Maradona, Pele, Ronaldo, Messi, and C. Ronaldo cannot hit the target every time. In contrast, Duran, who plays in the English League One, has a very high success rate in shooting. But this is the semi-final of the League Cup, and Southampton is also facing the top team in the Champions League. In this case, it is impossible for Duran to maintain the success rate of shooting at the English League One level. At this time, Sech, who had successfully saved the ball, walked up to Duran, smiled and stretched out his hand to pull Duran up from the grass in front of the goal. Boo, your shot was very good. I almost couldn't catch it, but I caught it after all, which shows that you are still a little short. With me here, don't think about shooting the ball into Chelsea's goal today. Duran took Sech's hand and stood up. Really? The game is not over yet. Sech grinned and said, okay, then come on. Duran also smiled at Sech, then turned and ran to the corner flag area. Southampton got the first corner kick in the second half. Although Duran's shot just now failed to score under strong pressure, it still forced goalkeeper Sech to give a corner kick opportunity. Duran bent down and carefully placed the football again and again. At this time, Lallana suddenly ran over and indicated that he wanted to take the corner kick. Duran frowned immediately and didn't get out of the way for a long time, as if he was arguing with Lallana about something. The Southampton fans in the South Stand could not help but get anxious. Duran and Lallana are the two most valuable players of Southampton, and both are core players. Now these two core players are arguing over a corner kick at this tense time. This is a very bad thing. Disharmony in the locker room will greatly affect the development of the team. And if it continues like this, Duran is likely to leave the team this season. The Chelsea fans laughed happily. After the corner kick dispute, they were sure that Duran would definitely leave the team. In the end, Duran left the corner flag area angrily and gave the corner kick opportunity to Lallana. Duran himself did not go to the penalty area to compete for the ball, but walked to the rib area outside the penalty area, as if it had nothing to do with him, with his hands on his hips, as if he wanted to stay away from this corner kick attack. The Chelsea players were also mostly relaxed in their mentality. Lallana raised his hand and took a corner kick. However, the ball was not kicked into the penalty area, but directly into the rib area, where Duran was. Duran immediately accelerated suddenly, facing the football that Lallana sent with great force, and suddenly volleyed it. Crescent moon scimitar plus deadly elevator. Everyone in Stamford Stadium exclaimed. In the last second, they thought that Lallana and Duran had a rift in their hearts because of the fight for the corner kick, but in this second, they realized that there was no rift at all. He was clearly attacking his godson and his adoptive father. How could Lallana compete with his adoptive father for a corner kick? This is a fucking act. The real purpose is to divert the attention of Chelsea's defense so that Duran can use the force to play with the force and take a second free kick from the angle of the rib area. This is a god level tactic. This tactic is too confusing. What's more deadly is not the confusion, but Duran's volley, which is simply a fairy-like level. The speed was fast, the power was great, the angle was tricky, the arc was obvious, and the falling feeling was fierce. Chelsea's human wall had already jumped up when Lallana kicked the ball. Now it was too late to jump up again. And Sech's step by step also jumped up after the human wall jumped up. Duran's god level tactical free kick shot just hit the human wall and Sech with an extreme time difference. But Sech did not give up. The iron-blooded goalkeeper is never blown up. Sech struggled to move sideways to save, and his body stretched to the limit like a rubber band. Can't reach the ball. The football fell rapidly with a knock-on shot into the net. The ball went in. Stamford Bridge was quiet for 3 heartbeats, and then the Saints fans in the South Stand cheered wildly. Southampton scored away. For a 2-round match, it is very important to score away. The referee blew the whistle to indicate that the goal was valid. The score on the big screen at Stamford Bridge was immediately rewritten as Chelsea 2:1 Southampton. The defensive shots on the big screen repeatedly defended Lallana and Guran's god-level corner kick tactics from multiple angles. After scoring, Guran rushed to Chelsea's goal with one hand. He didn't do it to pick up the ball, but to prove himself to Sech. Sech pinched his waist with both hands, shook his head helplessly and sighed. He just said that he could defend Chelsea's goal and prevent Guran from scoring a goal, but before he finished speaking, Guran hit him in the face with a shocking god-level tactical corner kick. Southampton's players surrounded Guran and celebrated in front of Chelsea's goal. Walton, with a bandage on his nose, continued to stick to Terry and chattered. Terry's fists clenched and creaked, wishing he could punch Walton's ugly face in the next second. But in the end, Terry held back. As the captain of Chelsea, Terry is iron-blooded enough, but never reckless. The game continued. Chelsea, who has scored a goal by Southampton, began to counter-attack frantically and bombarded wildly. Lampard also began to change tactics and began to rush forward. Guran took the opportunity to launch a B2B sprint while marking Lampard with Lallana and looking for opportunities to return to defense. Southampton struggled to survive in Chelsea's crazy attack. Several times, Chelsea almost scored. Fortunately, Torres made the final shot. If it was Didier Drogba, Southampton would have been a hornet's nest by Chelsea. The game was in the 77th minute. Southampton's physical fitness dropped sharply. Chelsea's physical fitness was still online. At this time, Lampard cleverly interspersed, touched the ball in the gap, and then quickly distributed the ball to his own right, which was Southampton's left. The ball just landed behind Chamberlain and in front of Hammond. Anelka quickly cut inside with the ball. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.